From Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland, ESPN's Baseball Tonight presents the Oakland A's and the Baltimore Orioles. Bob Welch looks for his 20th win for the A's. He'd be the fastest to 20 wins since Steve Carlton in '72. John Mitchell has won 3 of 4 for the Orioles and starts for Baltimore. Hello once again, everyone, and welcome to ESPN's Baseball Tonight. I'm John Saunders. We'll get out to Baltimore in just a moment, but first some news. George Steinbrenner's reign as managing general partner of the New York Yankees may not be over Monday as expected. Steinbrenner is supposed to hand the club over to Robert Niederlander, his resignation forced by Commissioner Fay Vincent because of involvement with gambler Howard Spira. But 2 Yankee limited partners, Daniel McCarthy and Harold Bowman, are seeking a restraining order that would continue Steinbrenner's ownership. Judge Alice Batchelder will rule on the suit on Monday. Meantime, National League President Bill White has suspended St. Louis first baseman Pedro Guerrero for his part in a fight last night with Houston's Danny Darwin. Here's how things got started. Guerrero at the plate. Darwin comes in high and tight, actually not that far inside, but Guerrero takes exception. They exchange words. Then in the 7th, Darwin reaches first on an infield hit. Still at first, they exchange words again. Guerrero will then take a swing past umpire Bob Davidson. The bench is clear. The war is on. Guerrero is ejected. Darwin ejected as well. And Pedro Guerrero, for starting the fight, has been suspended 1 game and fined an undisclosed amount. It's Friday night. So a reminder, the second half of our doubleheader, the New York Mets at San Francisco. The Mets a half game back in the East, the Giants 9 back in the West. Stay with us. Memorial Stadium, the A's and the O's are next.
Welcome to Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, where tonight, Bob Welch, the right-hander of the Oakland Athletics, goes after his 20th win of the season, taking on right-hander John Mitchell and the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles just 7 games back with 7 weeks left in the season in 3rd place in the American League's Eastern Division. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Zabriskie, and along with the new Hall of Famer Jim Palmer, we welcome you to Game 1 of our ESPN Friday Night Baseball doubleheader. And, Jim, as I mentioned, the Orioles 7 back with 7 weeks to play. It's amazing that they still have a shot at it in spite of the injuries they've had.
Well, an article in the paper today, Earl Weaver says it's easy. Just pick up 1 game per week, and you'll be right there at the end. I don't know if it's that easy. They go on a Western road trip. They win 3, lose 6. They aren't able to hit home runs. Only 1 home run in their last 11 ball games. Mickey Tettleton, 40 games, 1 home run. Craig Worthington, 1 home run in his last 37 games. And then, Steve, you lose the big bopper, the guy that had 20 home runs, Randy Milligan, went on the 15-day disabled list. We'll talk more about that during the game.
Well, over in the American League West, the Oakland A's are still the class of baseball. They are 6 games in front of Chicago, and it is very quickly, with a big series between these 2 teams coming up, a 2-game, 2-team race in the American League West. I think it's perhaps more amazing that Oakland, with the injuries they've had and continue to have, is able to be 6 games in front.
Well, they win 7 out of 9. Canseco playing very spotty because of back problem. Ricky Henderson with a hamstring problem. We will see him tonight. But I think the story of the Oakland A's is defense. They are 2nd behind the Orioles in least amount of errors, tied for 2nd place in defensive abilities. And then second to the point is, of course, their pitching. It's outstanding, leading the American League, and I think all of baseball in pitching. Tonight they send Bob Welch. Here's a guy that will try to win 20 games for the first time. He's won 17 his last 3 years. And does he have intensity? The guy right behind him, a teammate, Dave Stewart, trying to win his first Cy Young Award. The guy up in Boston trying to win his 3rd are pushing him. That's Roger Clemens. He will be at his best tonight. It'll be interesting to see if he can win number 20 for the first time.
So let's check out the Sears Die-Hard starting lineup for the world champion Oakland A's. Ricky Henderson will be the designated hitter tonight, and he will be leading off. Carney Lansford at 3rd base, batting 2nd. Dave Henderson-Hendu will be in center field, batting 3rd. Mark McGuire will be at 1st base, batting 4th. Jose Canseco back in the lineup, even though his back's still bothering him. He'll bat 5th. The catcher Ron Hasse bats 6th. Felix Jose will be in left field, batting 7th. Walt Weiss, the shortstop, is batting 8th. And Mike Gallego, the 2nd baseman, will bat 9th.
Playing behind John Mitchell, the defense for the Orioles in right field. Steve Finley. Anderson in center, Orsulak in left. Around the infield, Worthington, Ripken, McKnight and Seguin. Mickey Tettleton behind the plate tonight. And on the mound, John Mitchell.
So here's Henderson to lead it off. Rickey hitting .330. 21 home runs and 44 RBIs. And Mitchell bounces it up there.
He is the DH tonight, Steve, because of the hamstring problem. They will not play him in left field. You can see the number that leads the American League in hitting. He's having a great year from a power standpoint with 21 home runs, 49 steals, only been thrown out 6 times.
A breaking ball that stays high. 2 balls and 1 strike. Henderson, Lansford, and the other Henderson, Dave. There's a Lansford on deck.
Mitchell, a sinker, curveball, and changeup pitcher.
The fastball fouled away the other way, 2-2. Rickey leading the American League with his .330 average. And his hamstring to the point now where he can bat, but he can't run very well.
I heard it 10 days ago against the Orioles. Pulled the ball to third base, tried to beat it out, and aggravated it.
That breaking ball just missing inside, so it's 3-2.
And that is what he does so well. 44 times he has homered leading off the game. He'll work the count to his advantage and make you throw strikes.
Strike 3 called. Henderson thought it was outside, but he's punched out by Mark Johnson, the home plate umpire.
Well, he did pinch hit the other night, and he's the type of guy that I think he's politicking for the next time up. That ball had plenty of the plate. Watch Tettleton move outside. Ball tailing back right on the corner. Of course, this is a pitch that Rickey Henderson normally gets. Mark Johnson doing a good job as an umpire calling a strike a strike.
And the consternation all over Henderson's face. So here's Carney Lansford, who takes high for ball 1. Lansford hitting .280, 3 homers and 40 RBIs. A tapper right back to Mitchell. 2 away. This is a symmetrical ballpark, although it is not circular in design with those walls out there in right and left field, some interesting angles, but it is symmetrical as far as the dimensions are concerned.
Short dimension down the lines. They have a tendency to bunch people up the middle. Your left fielder will play closer to the center fielder. The same with your right fielder. They will give you the lines. Of course, that's where the difficulty comes in, playing that corner. You approach balls very carefully. Ball can hit off the cushion, go up, and go by you. Seen a couple of inside the park home runs.
Dave Henderson takes low for a ball. 2 out and nobody on. We're in the top of the first. No score. Grounded to third, and a good play by Craig Worthington. John Mitchell retires the A's in order in the first. As we go to the bottom half of the first inning, we'll check out the Sears diehard starting lineup for the hometown Orioles tonight. Brady Anderson will be in center field and lead it off. Steve Finley in right field bats second, and you can see the number of left-handed hitters and switch hitters in that lineup tonight against Bob Welch. Cal Ripken at shortstop, his 1,367th game, batting third. Sam Horn will be the designated hitter. Joel Orsulak in left field will hit 5th. Mickey Tettleton, the catcher and a switch hitter, batting 6th. Craig Worthington at third base, and the 2 rookies, Dave Segui at first base and Jeff McKnight at second base, rounding out the order.
The defense behind Bob Welch, it's a good one. Only 64 errors, only the Orioles with less. Toronto also with 64. Canseco in right, Dave Henderson in center, Felix Jose the left fielder, Carney Lansford underrated third baseman, and the great Walt Weiss at short. Mike Gallego at second. Mark McGuire, very soft hands. As you see, the first pitch delivered to Welch for a ball. Behind the plate tonight, as always, Ron Hesse.
Bob Welch going for his 20th win, and here we are in the middle of August.
Well, you got to go back 17 years until 1973. Wilbur Wood won his 20th game on this date. In the 80s, Steve Stone did it on August 19th.
And Brady Anderson now 3 balls and no strikes. Anderson hitting .279 with Steve Finley on deck.
We talked about the lack of home runs. If Anderson and Finley can get on, they can run.
3-1.
I think, Steve, the one thing that you have to wonder about, Bob Welch, first time trying to go for 20. The reason Ron Hasse catches him, and he's done it 55 out of his last 57 starts. Popped up on the left side, and Lansford there to make the first out. Going back is the fact that he has a calming effect on Bob Welch. So for the first time, even though you have, what, 6 weeks to go to win your 20th game, you wonder how he'll handle not the pressure, but the apprehension of maybe doing something that all pitchers dream to be able to do.
Especially since he has come so close with 17 wins the last few years.
It seems like this is the first year he's stayed healthy.
So here's Steve Finley hitting .251. Not a lot of power, but he can run, and he slices it the other way. Felix Jose with an easy play for out number 2. Jose playing left in place of Ricky Henderson, who is DHing with the bad hamstring. So here's Cal with 2 out, nobody on. Ripton not only in his 1367th consecutive game, but he holds the major league record for shortstops with 1339, now 1340 consecutive games at short. Strike 1. And Cal, Jim, has been about the only Oriole who's been hitting the ball.
Well, he hit that last home run a week ago Saturday, a solo shot. I figured that after not hitting a whole lot, they hit it with nobody on base. But he has changed his stance. He has battled all year to come out of really a season-long drought, and you will see a very unusual stance that's working for him. Feet together, a closed stance. He's trying to stay back, and he's been able to do it.
Fouls this one off the other way. So the count 1 ball 2 strikes.
Yeah, Welch won his 18th the week before last out in Oakland. Looking at Sam Horn on deck. And he throws a fastball, curveball, split finger. He will cut his fastball, but he throws about 4 or 5 sliders a ball game. He saved those for Cal Ripken.
And the fastball punches him out. Right at the knees. So Welch retires the Orioles in order here in the first inning. No score after 1. On the amazing Nolan Ryan doing it again. Here, no scores. We go to the second inning, and Mark McGwire leads it off for the Athletics, hitting .217. But he now has 30 homers and 78 RBIs. A momentous grand slam to win a ball game, his 30th.
Also, first time in the history of baseball somebody hit 30 home runs 4 years in a row. That grand slam being his 30th home run. 49 his first year is just amazing. The average has come down every year. I think if you watch him, he has, well, you can also watch this guy on deck, Jose Canseco, but if you watch him, got an uppercut. There it is, a pop-up.
Yep. Consequently, he strikes out a lot and pops up a lot. Tettleton handles it for out number 1.
Yeah, I think what's happened, Steve, is that the league, when you come in the league and it's your 4th year, they find you out. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to hit a lot of home runs because he's big and strong. 6'5", weighing over 230 pounds. But they throw him a lot more fastballs. He has what I call a slider speed bat. Doesn't mean he can't hit the triple fastball or occasionally hit a fastball out over the plate. But you'll see Mark McGwire around the league being thrown a lot more fastballs than when he first came up.
Jose Canseco back in the lineup for the first time since the 10th of August. He's had back problems, of course, throughout his young career. He missed 5 straight games with a bad back, but good enough to go tonight. And a strike. And I was talking to Tony La Russa, Jim, before the game in his office, and he said he has a very philosophical attitude about Canseco. He does not worry about it. He doesn't complain or, get himself out of sorts when he doesn't have Jose or Henderson or other guys. Yeah. Ground ball to short. Ripken, who has played beautifully, throws him out. 2 gone. And I think one of the reasons that La Russa can do that is because of the team he has. If Canseco were on another ball club, I think the loss would be felt far greater than it is.
Well, I think
Oakland.
what it comes down to is what we talked about in the opening, is that this year Dave Henderson, we look at Ron Hassey, Dave Henderson's having his second best year and may ultimately be better than the year he had in 1986, but he is having a good year. McGuire, even though the average is down, is doing his job. If you look at Ron Hassey, he catches all the time when Welch catches, but he does his job. Weiss is having a great year, both in the field and with the bat, so he can be more philosophical. Plus, they're on their way to at least 100 wins again.
Yes.
Did it 2 years ago, 99 last year with all those injuries.
Hassey with a count of no balls and 1 strike, batting with 2 out and nobody on. And the big breaking ball, and Hassey rams it right down into his foot for strike 2.
You know, I was talking to Jamie Quirk, played a little bit with the Orioles. He's been around for a long time, Kansas City, the Yankees, Milwaukee, all kinds of ball clubs. And he said the one thing that he observes, playing only part-time, is that the Oakland A's come to the ballpark knowing they're better than the teams they're going to play, and they come with a certain intensity day in and day out that is really unparalleled in baseball. And that's why they're so consistent. They bring pitching and defense every day.
Down low, 1 and 2.
Their batting instructor, Merv Redmond, will tell you, he says, we're great. I mean, we can get 5 or 6 quick runs, and then we just kind of put it on cruise control. They don't have that killer instinct offensively.
Well, the other thing they have is they have depth, and they have a team where everyone contributes. Look at the job Felix Jose has done now in left for Henderson. He plays right when Canseco is out. And there really never has been a team that has won it and had any kind of type of consistency and contended every year, as Oakland has, that hasn't had 24, 25 guys who have played a role and done well. Hassey holds up, and it's 3 and 2. John Mitchell out of the great state of Tennessee. And if you get 2 words out of him, you're lucky.
It's about 2 times more words than he usually talks, but he has pitched extremely well for the Orioles. I'm sure he's not pleased with 2 outs walking Ron Hassey. But again, he's done the job. He was with the ball club early, sent back to Rochester, and he's been given the ball and pitched extremely well. One last Sunday against Langston out in Los Angeles or Anaheim. But he does throw the ball over, and he's a good matchup. He lost 3-2 the last time he pitched against Bob Welch in the Oakland A's.
And a good breaking ball gets Felix Jose to swing at it for strike 1. Jose hitting .262 with 8 homers, 36 RBIs, and this is where his Major League Baseball career began. He was playing for Oakland here in Baltimore Memorial Stadium and has hit well here in his young career.
Well, hit a home run here early in the year on a high curveball. What they like about Felix Jose is that he started out well this year. Numbers went down, and he's adjusted. Still looks like he's likes the ball out over the plate, has trouble inside. We'll see with 2 strikes where they go.
Inside.
Yeah, they try to get him out inside. Again, you know, he can't hit the good breaking ball, but if you make a mistake with the curveball, he will lash it in a hurry.
Walt Weiss on deck should Jose extend the inning. Curveball grounded to second. Right to Jeff McKnight, who goes over to Dave Segui, and the inning is over. 1 walk and 1 left in the second for Oakland. Still no score after 1.5.
We told you Nolan Ryan had 9 strikeouts through 5 innings. He also hit a batter Grayback. And so Greg Hibbert retaliates, hitting Steve Buechele. Buechele takes exception, and the bench is clear once again as the fight rages on the mound. Players falling and flying everywhere. Order was finally restored. Still scoreless. Let's get back to Steve and Jim.
Thanks, John. In addition to the year of the no-hitter, maybe it's the year of the let's hit each other.
Amazing. Looks like a twilight game. I just remember Nolan Ryan at twilight in Anaheim. I know you got to defend your teammates, but you got to pick the right time. Another thing, I got to talk to Greg Hibbert the next time I see him. You don't dive into the hitter with your pitching arm.
Well, not only that, but
It's just ridiculous. It's got
Depends
to the
on who
point
you hit, too. Let's pick somebody who can't beat the snot out of it, too, you know. Like, you wouldn't want to hit Sam Horn.
Well, you know, one of the great things, there's a guy named Jim Harden who pitched for the Orioles. Looking at Tony La Russa, the manager of the A's. Well, anyway, Ray Euler hits a home run off him. Next hitter is Earl Wilson. You remember how big Earl Wilson was, pitcher for the Tigers?
Awesome.
Harden nails him, and he's coming up first in the next inning. This guy is selling computers down in Florida. I couldn't believe it.
Sam Horn cranks one into the upper deck, but it's well foul, and the count is 2-2. Horn has no hits in his last 14 at-bats.
Yeah, did not even play up in Seattle. Sam up and down with the Orioles. Better low ball hitter.
Fouls this one off. Still 2-2. Well, it seems like Sam, who started the season in a big way with the Orioles.
Had 2 home runs opening day, 6 RBIs.
Then he got, you know, to the point where he was really struggling. They sent him down. He just tore it up in AAA, and they had to bring him back. And he just has a roller coaster ride here in the big leagues. He'll have stretches where he looks awesome, and then he'll go through stretches where he can't get a hit. Foul back, still 3-2.
Of course, it doesn't mean he will not hit Bob Welch, but right there, 3-2. Welch has the ability. There's Frank Robinson, the skipper of the O's. Even when the count gets 3-2, leadoff batter where you might take a little bit off, he has this year the ability to make good pitches. He won't give in to a hitter. And of course, if you got Horn, now if Horn could run, which he can't, you know he's going to get a good pitch to hit. That's why Henderson gets so many good 3-2 pitches. Horn, you may have to gamble because you know if you make a mistake, it could be 1-0.
Popped up, foul the other way. He Lansford over, but he's not going to have a play. It's about a half a dozen rows back.
The high stadium, the wind swirls here. Wind configuration since they put up the diamond vision in right center, a little bit different. There's Cal Ripken Sr. over at third, and Johnny Oates used to be with the Cubs, managed the Rochester Ball Club a couple of years ago.
Horn gets a high fastball and hits it deep to right. It's out of here.
Number 10, I told you, he can hit him a long way, and that ball's up in the strike zone. Fastball inside, fastball outside, fastball pretty much down the middle. I mean, watch this extension.
Well, if you're going to break an 0 for 14 slump, that's not a bad way to do it.
Well, he always tries to do that. That's why I was amazed up in Seattle, which is a pretty small ballpark. Orioles struggling as Orsulak takes a strike. Didn't play any of the 3 ball games. And they only scored 1 run and no runs in their last 2 games.
Orsulak has been struggling. He's only had 1 hit in his last 12 times up, batting .288, and prior to the slump he was over 300.
Yeah, it's about a 304.
On the ground to short, Walt Weiss gets him in time. Out number 1. Let's go back to the studio for a Baseball Tonight update.
Battle of first place teams in the National League. Pirates all over it, though. Scott Scudder to Mike LaValliere. Deep to the wall. The double scores Bond. 6-0 is the score right now. Pirates cruising in the 7th. Get back to Baltimore.
Thank you, John. Well, those Pirates are not going to lay down. They have got a good club, and they're going to be there until the last day.
We talked about that about 7-8 weeks ago when the Mets made that run.
Tettleton takes a strike.
I mean, they got some of their pitchers back. They've made some deals, getting Zane Smith, good defensive ball club, some young power hitters.
1-1. Well, I think the big key there is Jim Leland. He's really got the attitude on that club in the right frame of mind, and they're just winners. Tettleton with that unusual stance. He stands erect, curls the bat up against his ear.
It's a long swing, Steve.
And it ain't working for him.
Not lately.
He's another who has really struggled. And the breaking ball just misses. Now it's 3-1. Holy mackerel. We said at the beginning that they'd hit only 1 home run in their last 11 games. So Horn's 2 in the last 97 innings. Not only are they not hitting, they're not getting any power production at all. And this is a club, as you well know, Jim, that needs power to win because they don't have a lot of other things going for them.
Well, they're also leading the major leagues in left on base percentage.
That's out of play. 3-2.
See, that's a pitch that last year when Tettleton hit 26 against a lesser pitcher. A's manager Tony La Russa, he was an infielder. He's not a lesser pitcher, but against a lesser pitcher, Mickey may hit that ball. But the one thing, Welch, you may hit home runs off him as Horn did, but he is not going to walk a lot of guys. He's going to come after you. 3-2. You will probably see a split finger fastball, something, a pitch that just tumbles, or it gives the appearance of a fastball until you go to swing at it. But Mickey Tettleton, he's walked a lot, 84 times, but set an all-time Oriole record with strikeouts off the corner.
Very close pitch, but ball 4. So 1 out and 1 on following the leadoff home run by Sam Horn that has the Orioles in front 1-0. And Tettleton, who does not possess base-stealing speed, will be at first for Craig Worthington.
You're more apt to pitch around guys. In other words, 3-2, make your pitch. Worthington, as we told you in the opening, hasn't hit a home run in 37 at-bats. Tettleton, as you said, doesn't run, so you're maybe take a gamble. Double play man if he hits it on the ground. You're not going to lay it in there.
Ball 1. Worthington hitting just .219, but he did have an 8-game hitting streak going until Wednesday night when it was stopped in Seattle.
And his average didn't go up. I mean,
So
very rarely.
Not an impressive 8-game hitting streak.
Oh, 1 for 4, 1 for 5. I'll tell you what, they are very upset. There's been about 3 pitches in the last 2 batters that Welch is not getting the strikes. Mark Johnson not calling the curveball or the split finger. And Hasse probably coming out to talk to Bob, and this is what this relation's built on. Hey, hang in there. I'll work him. You just try to get that pitch over, and we'll get some strikes before the night. And that's what you got to do as a catcher.
Well, there are those who have felt, and Tony La Russa obviously among them, that Bob Welch's volatility has been one thing that has kept him from being as good a pitcher as his talent should make him. And that's the importance of Hasse in settling him down and trying to keep him on an even keel. And a good pitch there for a strike, 2-1.
Yeah, that's that little cutter. It looks like a slider, just a little more pressure in the middle finger, and the ball just kind of slides. It gives you the appearance as a fastball, so you expect it to kind of move in, and it goes the other way. Good pitch if you can throw where a guy's trying to pull the ball, and you'll get a double play. That's a good point, though. I think if you wanted to discuss the personality of Bob Welch, he's hyper. Type A personality. Kind of like me, doesn't want to wait in traffic.
Mr. Patience. With Tettleton going, a grounder to short, so Weiss has to go to first. The Orioles stay out of the double play, and Tettleton will be at second base with 2 out.
Control pitcher, 2-1 count. If you're Frank Robinson, the manager, you're not hitting home runs. What do? Start the runner. Pays off.
Well, here's Dave Segui, the rookie first baseman who was with the Orioles earlier this year and now back up with the injury problems that they've had, and Moose Milligan, who at first was thought to just have a bruised shoulder after his collision last week with Ron Hasse, has a slightly separated shoulder and went on the 15-day DL today. Segui with a base hit, and here comes Tettleton. Henderson up with the ball, but will not throw it. 2-0 Baltimore.
Well, David Segui, about the only thing he can't do, at least at a minor league level, is hit home runs. Only hit 2, but he hit 336. Well, you saw the numbers when he was up earlier in the year, and he said, I just was pulling off everything. He says, my power's up the middle, left center, at least from the left side. He is a switch hitter. New player, big run. 2-0 lead.
So Segui at first, having driven in the second run of the night, and Jeff McKnight, his fellow rookie, will stand in against Welch. McKnight has had 6 hits in his first 15 times up, batting .400 so far, and he takes a strike.
Spray hitter. 2 RBIs, as you see. 6 home runs. He'll hit the ball 6 base hits out of 15. He'll hit it to left field as well as he will to right. Tommy McCraw, the hitting instructor, saying, well, you can't really play that shallow, and the Oakland outfield will not do that, but he'll use the gaps. Looks like his power is down if you make a mistake.
Breaking ball lofted into left center field. There's room for Henderson, and the inning is over. But a home run, a walk, and a single. And Baltimore has taken a 2-0 lead against Bob Welch as Welch goes for number 20 tonight. He's down.
Earlier tonight, Yankee ownership in limbo, but the show must go on at Yankee Stadium. First inning against the Mariners, Billy Swift to Mel Hall, and he finds the gap out there in Death Valley. Griffey trying to run it down, won't get to it. Steve Sachs comes in to score easily, and Mel Hall is in there with a double as the Yankees open up with a 1-0 lead. It's in the third. Back to Steve and Jim.
Thank you, John. Right here, it's 2-0 Baltimore as we go to the top half of the third inning. A home run, a walk, and a base hit with 2 out by rookie Dave Segui, giving the Orioles their 2 runs in the second. And Walt Weiss, who loves to hit here in Baltimore, hitting .351 throughout his career in Memorial Stadium, leads it off.
Yeah, Weiss, Henderson hitting .330 against the O's. We talked about defense intensity. Walter Weiss has got great range for a shortstop.
Ball 2.
Powers from the left side. He's a switch hitter. Well, if you want to call it his power. 2 home runs. But he is back to where he was 2 years ago before the knee operation as a shortstop.
Fouls the high fastball back, and it's 2-1.
I had a chance to play with Mark Belanger, one of the outstanding shortstops of really of all time from a defensive standpoint. Rene Latchman at third base. Dave McKay over at first for the A's. But Walt Weiss, somebody's saying he may have more range than Mark Belanger.
One of the things, too, you notice about Walter is that even when he has to go a long way for the ball, he keeps his body in great position. He rarely gets himself in an awkward situation where he cannot make a throw.
Balance, quick feet.
He walks to lead off the inning. That's the second walk issued by John Mitchell. And he'll bring up the 9th place hitter for Oakland, Mike Gallego, who's batting just .206. 2 homers and 29 RBIs.
Yeah, you make that point about Weiss very rarely being off balance or whatever, but whether you're hitting, whether you're throwing a baseball, fielding it, the truly great hitters, pitchers, infielders always have the way of getting themselves balanced.
Hit and run was on, and Weiss running on the pitch, so Gallego threw his bat at a ball way outside and got a piece of it. Strike 1.
Unusual play. I guess the assumption is that John Mitchell, who's been around the plate all night, will throw a strike, so you make Gallego a better hitter. Stay out of the double play. But on the first pitch,
very unusual.
But that's Tony La Russa. He always said he does not want the opposition to really sit on what he does. In other words, doesn't want to get too entrenched in doing things.
Breaking ball for a strike. Gallego thought it might have been a little high, but it's 0-2. Mitchell will not overpower you, and his fastball is almost a show-me pitch that he uses sometimes out of the strike zone. Primarily sinkers and curveballs. Everything's going down. Grounded to short. Could be a double play.
Well, I talked to Cal Ripken about playing behind John Mitchell. He said some nights they will pull the low-way ball. This is exactly what happens. This time I think he runs it in on him, but this is tailor-made. Cal, 95 games without an error. All he does is get it to McKnight. McKnight quickly over to Segui, and you got 2 outs. Go from maybe having a big inning or maybe getting 2 or 3 runs to looking at a guy that you want to have coming up exactly in this situation with 2 outs, nobody on.
Craig Worthington has moved in on the edge of the grass at third for Henderson, who looked at a called third strike in the first inning. Breaking ball driven to left field. Orsulak going back, makes the catch short of the wall. Ricky put a charge in it, but the inning is over. A walk, but nobody left in the third. 2-0.
Earlier today at Wrigley Field in Chicago, the Cubs hosting the Atlanta Braves. Big day for Sean Dunston facing John Smoltz. He hangs one. This one gone to left field, but he wasn't done in the 7th inning with a runner on second, again to left. Another hurt hanging curveball from Smoltz, and the Cubs win 7-0. Back to Stephen James.
Brady Anderson grounding it back to Bob Welch, and there's one away here in the 3rd inning. 2-0 Baltimore, and if Bob Welch is going to win his 20th tonight, he's going to need a little help from his friends.
Well, 14. Well, he's got that all year, and 14 out of his 25 starts, he's given up 2 runs or less. But I think when I look at Bob Welch, anytime you win your 26th start, you already have 19 wins. That means that you're doing your job and your teammates are doing theirs. And we saw probably the prototypical game of Welch pitching earlier in the year against the White Sox, where he gave up 4 runs early, battled them all the way to the 7th, and then they came up with 5 runs late in the ball game, and he got a win. Now, if you aren't in shape, you don't know how to pitch, you're never going to get to the 8th inning when you don't have your good stuff.
That breaking ball squirts high and away to Steve Finley, and the count's 2-0. Finley flying to left in the 1st inning. A fastball for a strike, and it's 2-1.
We saw that graphic, 168 and 107 as far as one loss, but 53-21 since he's come to the A's. Fits in perfectly here.
High fastball and a base hit to center field. Welch has been up in the strike zone lately, and it's cost him. Sam Horn hit a similar pitch out of the park to right field. So Finley at first with 1 out for Cal Ripken. Ripken struck out swinging to end the 1st inning.
Yeah, good inside fastball with 2 strikes to Cal, but I think that Frank Robinson again will try to maybe manufacture some runs, even though he's got a 2-0 lead. Finley can steal 16 out of 24. Last year, 17 out of 20. I think the league's a little bit more alert to the fact that he's going to run. So with 1 out, maybe you do take the bat out of Cal's hands a little bit, but only hit that 1 home run, 10 days ago. So got to try to do something, get that offense going.
Grounded and cut off by Lansford, who goes to Gallego to McGuire for the double play. So just when it looked like the O's might get something going, the double play erases the base hit by Finley, and the inning is over. 1 hit, nobody left, and still 2-0 Baltimore. It's the first pitch to Craig Worthington, 1 out in the 4th inning. 2-0 Baltimore as we start the 4th.
We've talked about their defense. 10 errors in their last 10 games. That's more than they made in the entire month of July. But they still lead the American League in least amount of errors. Tied, well, or maybe just trailing by like 2 thousandths of fielding percentage behind Toronto. Toronto with 64 errors. The Orioles with 62.
And that's a reason why, in spite of the injuries and the lack of hitting and everything else, that they have been able to stay there in contention.
Well, you look at this outfield tonight. That will make your job a lot easier as a pitcher. It does not make it a fright night for John Mitchell.
No, they've got 3 guys out there that can go get him with anybody. In Orsulak, Anderson, and Finley.
And normally what they'll play, Steve, is Devereaux, who's just an outstanding center fielder. Finley will play right field, and left will be Anderson. It's even better. But Orsulak's an awfully good outfielder. Whoa.
Hendu got breezed quite nicely. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, there's a lot of respect for John Mitchell because
he must
not because of this. You never really know. I think he's just trying to maybe ride a fastball. I can't imagine with a 2-0 lead why you want to get Dave Henderson and the A's aggravated.
Now away, 2-1.
But against Kansas City, took a chance at a possible win. Of course, he did get the win 14-1. He just drilled Kevin Seitzer. Started a fight.
Slider weakly grounded to third. Tough play for Worthington. Not in time. It'll be an infield base hit for Dave Henderson.
Well, he's come up 21 points since the All-Star break. He hasn't been hitting the ball like this, but if you're Dave Henderson, you will take it. 3:30 at Memorial Stadium against the Orioles, and he'll take the leg hit anytime you can get it. And Craig Worthington does everything right. Off his left foot, quick throw, but Henderson just beats it out for a base hit.
And that's the first hit of the night for Oakland. And here is Mark McGwire, who popped out to the catcher Mickey Tettleton in the second. Ball one. Dave Henderson doesn't run often, and one reason is because he hits in front of McGwire and Canseco. But when he does run, he's usually successful. Very high percentage of success throughout his career. He's 3 for 4 this year. Low again. 2-1. 2-0, I should say. Seems like most of the A's like to hit here in Baltimore.
Got that right.
Grounded to third. Good backhand pickup by Worthington, who will have to go to first, and does, to get McGwire. Henderson safe at second now with 2 out. Good play by Craig.
Yeah, good call by you, too, because I don't think Craig Worthington saw that ball. That's what made it so difficult. If he had reacted a little harder. Now watch him freeze a little bit. I don't think he sees it off the bat. Right there, that's about almost a second before he reacts, but he probably makes the most difficult play for a third baseman. Going to his right, also on the short hop, because you got to catch it in the heel of your glove, and if it hits the heel, it's usually not going to stay there. But watch him just stay there with soft hands. He sees right away that Henderson's speed will make him have to go to first, and takes the out at first base. Runner in scoring position. A lot of factors, excuse me, right? A lot of factors going into a fairly simple play.
That's true. Starting with the way in which the ball was hit, which caused Worthington to hesitate. Canseco grounded to short in the second inning, and he takes a strike.
We talked about the back problem that Jose is having, and could see it in Oakland last week. Had a chance to do a couple of games out there. Just did not seem to get to the inside pitch, which is one of his strengths. Uses a 35-inch, 35-ounce bat. You don't see many guys swinging a bat that big. Kevin Mitchell, the Giants, we all know what he can do with the bat.
And another strike.
Also, you take a week off, as Jose has, you lose your perception of the strike zone. We saw Henderson taking a called strike early on. He thought the ball was a ball. I mean, that's a good pitch, and I'm not saying that because I'm a former pitcher. If we could run that back, I don't know if we can. That ball's pretty much down the middle.
Well, there's another problem here, and that is that the A's have been upset with Mark Johnson's calls. When Welch has been pitching, they have not been getting those as strikes.
Well, if you don't get this pitch, this game will never end. Jose saying it's low. Well, you know, National League, American League, that is a strike now. You don't ever get anything at the belt. But again, we're talking about lobbying, politicking for maybe later in the game.
Mark Johnson is not an umpire with a lot of tenure in the American League either. And when an umpire tends to be one of the younger ones, he tends to take a little more abuse than the veteran umpires. Grounded foul by Rene Latchman, the third base coach. Still no balls, 2 strikes to Canseco, with Henderson at second and 2 out.
Of course, the reason just 1 strike is a little bit more important in this situation. If the count's 1-1 versus 0-2, Jose can be a little more patient at the plate. When you hit with 2 strikes, you better get the bat off your shoulder, especially when you haven't seen live pitching in a week and you're not sure about what the umpire is going to call.
In the dirt, and a good play by Tettleton. 1-2.
You mentioned coming up to the booth tonight. The Orioles, of course, talking about, hey, we think he's doing a great job behind the plate. We're talking about Canseco. I mean, if you look at Henderson with 2 outs at second, what would he be doing if he could play all the time? He already got 34 home runs, 82 RBIs. What if he stays healthy?
Well, he's always said that he would put up numbers that would just make anybody else's pale by comparison. He may be right. Fouled it off. Just did get a piece of it to stay in there.
A 1-2 changeup. It just sunk, and Jose just got the To the top of the ball.
Being out of the lineup has not hurt his home run production by any means, as he and McGuire are still the boppers. I think where it hurts Jose the most is the stolen bases.
Yeah.
He wants
Only
to get
15,
the 50-50,
right.
and being out prevents him from having as many stolen bases. Got him with a curveball. They love to see Jose hit home runs, but when he's in the other park, they also love to see him strike out. Still 2-0 Baltimore.
It's in the Reds in Cincinnati, and this battle of first-place teams has been all Pirates. Watch this one get out of there. Bobby Bonilla with a line drive. He even thought this had a double written all over it. It's a home run. It's 27th of the year, 7-1. Let's get back to you.
Thank you, John. That's only game one. Right here, there's only one game, except it is the first of our ESPN doubleheader. We'll have San Francisco and the Mets coming up later. And Tony La Russa, a little bit earlier, you're watching this on tape during the break between innings, arguing with home plate umpire Mark Johnson.
You know, the rhetoric goes like this. Hey, give us what you're giving them. You're calling curveballs for Mitchell, call them for Welch.
Sam Horn with a home run to right field in the second inning, the first Oriole run. They did score 2 in that inning. And that home run broke an 0 for 14 skid for Sam. A little bit high and away, 1-1.
If you've been around baseball a long time, the one constant is that whether you're a pitcher or a hitter, doesn't matter what your strike zone is. You got to live with the strike zone the umpire has. If you're a pitcher, you got to adjust to it. If you're a hitter, the same. Because you hope what the umpire will do is be consistent.
One of these days, maybe they'll take the strike zone that's in the rule book out of the rule book and just not bother to put a strike zone definition in the rule book, because no one adheres to it anyway.
See, there's the pitch that the Oakland A's want. A big, slow curveball. It's one of Welch's 3 pitches. If he doesn't get that pitch, either you stop throwing it, because when you do throw it, if you don't get it for a strike, it's 3-1, 2-1 all night. And this is how Horn hit the home run. Went 3-2, 2 pitches that were fairly close. Hasse thought he should have gotten. Leadoff batter just like this. Had to come in. You got to give Sam Horn a lot of credit, because the ball was almost over his head, but that was the first run. Again, it's 3-2, starting off an inning. You're already down 2-0. You got to challenge the hitter. To challenge this guy and get it in the zone, as we've seen, he can hit it a long, long way. And he's not going up there to drop a bunt down.
No. No, the infield is deep and swung around to the right.
They're on the grass.
Got him with a breaking ball. He was not going to throw him another 3-2 fastball.
I think it may have been a high split finger. Oh, I'll take it back. Hanging curveball. But he hung it just high enough. Horn thinking it's going to break. It's going to break. It didn't. It just stayed up in the strike zone, strike 3.
So 1 out, and here's Joe Ursulak, who grounded to short in the second inning. And Joe now only 1 hit in his last 13 times up. So he's going to lay it down. And it's rolling and staying fair. It looked as if it might go foul, but it hit that chalk line and died in fair territory.
I'll tell you, when you are in a slump, you hit the ball hard as he did to shortstop. You figure, why not? I'm swinging the bat. It's not working. Right here. Fate, luck, a little more chalk.
Hasse just waiting for it to go foul.
Well, normally, I mean, I've played here for almost 20 years. That ball normally would go foul.
Well, they've just got some extra chalk on the line there. Wouldn't make it over the hump.
And that's fair for both teams. That's not like they used to do in Chicago, where they'd wet it down in front of home plate for Joel Horland, Gary Peters, Tommy John. They'd freeze the balls on Sunday.
And the Dodgers used to slant the baselines.
Of course, here, you have a drainage problem, because we're in the East, a lot of rain. You would think there would be more slope to the foul line.
Mickey Tettleton walked and scored his first time up as Ursulak draws a throw.
There's not much you can do about that, but a lot of catchers, third basemen will roll the ball down before the game and during batting practice to see if there is any discernible slope one way or the other.
Just outside. Ball 1. One thing about Tettleton, he has an outstanding eye. He will rarely swing at a ball out of the strike zone.
Well, that is something that, you know, it's good and bad. You walk a lot, but you have a tendency to run into a lot of deep counts, and when you're not a contact hitter, you strike out. Thus the 126 strikeouts to break Boo Powell's record.
And the other thing too is it takes away from your aggressiveness, and a guy like Tettleton needs to be an aggressive hitter. Ball 2.
See, I thought after the 26 home runs, and those were 26 home runs hit in a year where he missed almost the last month, that they changed the pattern on Mickey. Early in the year, a lot of pitches inside, but now they've gone back out over the plate. But what they haven't thrown him is a lot of junk. And his bat gets a lot quicker. He's got a big swing, so he catches up to the breaking ball a little bit easier than he does to the good fastball.
Off the glove of Hasse. Orsulak will go to second on a pass ball.
I think another reason they walk Tettleton so much is we look at a ball that just runs. I think Hasse looking at Orsulak, and also the ball took his eye off it. Movement on the fastball. That's one thing that Welch has always had. That accounts for the fastball. But one of the reasons right here, Tettleton with a 3-0 count. You got a double play man on deck and Craig Worthington, who's already hit a bouncer to the infield. You got a tendency in the Oriole lineup to pitch around a lot of guys. When Milligan was in the lineup, he was leading the major leagues in walks. They'd pitch around him. And so you can sequence your way through this lineup because not a lot of guys have a lot of power.
3 balls, 1 strike. Three and 2.
Well, there's an aggressive swing. Swung at ball 4. I think also if you're Mickey Tettleton, you've seen this scenario happen all year long. So it makes you, in certain hitting counts, instead of walking, you want to do something, especially with a runner in scoring position.
And there is ball 4. So Tettleton walks for the second time. Those are the only 2 walks allowed by Welch. Let's go back to the studio and John Saunders.
The Brewers and the Tigers in Detroit. Tom Candiotti to Cecil Fielder, who does a nice bit of hitting, reaches out, sends it to the opposite field. Alan Trammell comes in to score. Fielder with a double and 96 runs batted in this season. Back to Steve and Jim.
Thank you, John. When Cecil's not hitting them out, he's still driving them in, boys. 96 RBIs. Right here, Craig Worthington with a chance for an RBI. Runners at first and second and 1 out. Worthington grounded to short in the second inning. And he takes high, ball 1. Bob Welch trying to win number 20, but down 2-0 here in the bottom of the 4th. Good slider. 1-1.
Jody doesn't throw too many, but again, you get a guy up that's trying to pull the ball. Even though you look at Craig Worthington, Steve, last year he had just below 250, but with runners in scoring position, took the ball to right field, hit over 300. Runners in scoring position, outstanding RBI year. This year has never really been able to get settled. You know, last year with 2 strikes, he will hit the ball down the right field line to right field. This year, only 8 home runs. He hit 15 last year. It's almost like he's got pull-itis.
Well, he tried to pull an outside pitch his first time up and grounded to short, which is what's going to happen. He hits this one up the middle, but Weiss is there, steps on the bag and throws to McGuire to end the inning on another double play, the second turn by Oakland. Just putting an exclamation point on Mr. Palmer's point. It's still 2-0. John Mitchell has allowed just 1 hit to the Oakland Athletics through the first 4 innings and leads 2-0 against the A's and Bob Welch. And a reminder, this is game 1 of our Friday night Major League Baseball doubleheader on ESPN. And here's a look at game 2. As soon as we're done here in Baltimore, we will whip you out to Gary Thorne at Candlestick Park for the New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants. So stay with us for the second half of our doubleheader tonight.
Canadian native. They had him from Canada because he does hockey. He's from Maine. They're up in arms up there, and I think they should be.
Well, the state of Maine rarely gets mentioned in any regard, and here they had an opportunity with one of their homegrown guys, and they blew it. Well, they didn't blow it.
Cannonading shot from the blue line. Just because he does ice hockey doesn't mean he's from Canada, eh?
And he says "eh" once in a while, but that's okay. Hasse walked his first time up, and he rips a curveball by a diving Jeff McKnight for a base hit to right field. So Oakland gets the leadoff batter aboard in the 5th, down by 2 runs, only their second hit. And it'll bring up Felix Jose. Jose grounded to second to end the 2nd inning. Jose, a much better hitter this year from the right side than from the left side. And he gets a curveball and lashes it to left. Hasse will stop at second, and the A's have the potential tying runs aboard with nobody out.
2 pitches, 2 curveballs, 2 base hits. I'm going to be real interested to see what the next pitch is. What would you call for if you were a catcher?
I'd call for that sinker, and Tettleton is out talking to Mitchell on the mound as Walt Weiss gets ready to hit.
That's not really second guessing because they could have been hit at something, but I've always had a theory, and I was a fastball, curveball, occasional slider, change-up pitcher. Most of the time, we're talking about the predominant amount of the time, fastball pitchers have a better idea of where their fastball is going than the curveball. So when you get 2 strikes and the hitter is going to expand the strike zone, it's great to throw that slow breaking ball because you don't have to throw it for a strike. But when you start a hitter off, what do you want to do? Throw it for a ball? So you throw it more for the middle of the plate. 2 curveballs, both in the middle of the plate, 2 base hits.
And against a guy like John Mitchell, who probably is not going to be able to blow the ball by you, as a hitter, especially early in the count, you might be looking for something.
Yeah, or you're waiting. You got to wait on Mitchell.
Well, there's a fastball, and Weiss drills it to center field. Brady Anderson makes the catch. Hasse tagging, and he will make it to third without a throw. So the A's with runners at first and third and 1 out.
Well, there's Tony La Russa once again saying, hey, you're not going to know what we're going to do. Now, I've got to think as a pitcher, you're not going to see a sacrifice here because Gallego, who's only hitting .206, is behind him. But when you're throwing 2 breaking balls for base hits, you're going to throw a fastball. Good base running, as you said, by Hasse because he knows the ball is going to be caught. He knows Anderson's a good center fielder, knows he can tag up. Sacrifice fly will make it easier for Gallego to get a run in. That's why they didn't sacrifice, just because of this guy. What are you going to bunt him the 2nd and 3rd, have this guy pop up? Henderson makes an out. Nothing happens.
No, had Gallego been up in that situation with Henderson following him, he probably would have sacrificed. By both the left side infielders, Hasse scores to make it 2-1 as Gallego drives in his 30th run of the year. 3rd hit in the inning for Oakland.
Another curveball, Steve. 3 curveballs this inning, 3 base hits, 1 run, 1 fastball. You got an out to center. Good infield play. Not trying to knock it down. Unable to get both Worthington and Ripken. 2-1.
So the top of the order with Gallego at first and Felix Jose at second and Ricky Henderson the hitter. Ricky tonight is 0 for 2. He has struck out and lined deep to left. He hit it hard.
Yes, he did on a curveball. There has been a somewhat of a problem. A lot of the pitchers saying we'd rather throw to Bob Melvin than Mickey Tettleton. Say that Melvin calls a better game. Last year about a 4/10 of a run lower when Melvin caught. Of course, if you're Frank Robinson, who do you want to play? A guy with a little bit more power, in fact a lot more power, Tettleton or Bob Melvin. Tettleton, a free agent, a possible free agent, not signed.
Well, if Tettleton doesn't start hitting better than he is, you may see Melvin in there. Ball 2 to Ricky.
You won't find a nicer guy than Mickey Tettleton. Pitchers apparently thinking that, hey, Melvin, who caught under Roger Craig, who does an excellent job up in San Francisco of really managing through his catchers.
An off-speed pitch right in there, and it's 2-1.
Well, they are playing 20 feet off the line. If he throws him a slow curveball and he hits a routine grounder to third base, it's going to probably be a double. So you got to think with this kind of defensive alignment, you're going to throw a fastball. In other words, I'm going to pitch him and throw and play him away.
Henderson standing outside the batter's box. There's the distance that Craig Worthington is playing off of third base.
Well, Tim McCarver will never accuse Craig Worthington of guarding the line, will he?
One of Timmy's pet peeves.
Oh, I don't blame him. We'll talk about that later if the game is close.
Low and away, ball 3, 3-1. Now, you would think with runners at first and second, one out, Lansford on deck, Henderson the hitter, that Ricky would get a fastball right here.
Got to throw a strike. You know, maybe John Mitchell feels that's his best control pitch. But when you throw it 3 times in an inning with a 2-run lead and now it's 2-1 and all 3 have been hitting for base hits, you got to wonder.
Fouled off. 3-2.
I also think that if you're a third baseman, as all good defensive players, you may have a tendency to move maybe a little bit more to pull when the pitcher gets behind in the count. 3-2 right here. He's got to throw a strike, but they're going to pretty much play the same way.
I wonder if Tony La Russa will start the runners here with a full count and 1 away.
Oh, I think you got to do that. Stay out of a double play. Henderson, a contact hitter with power, 21 home runs.
Plus you get that infield moving around.
Oh yeah, all kinds of pluses for the offense unless you hit a line drive at one of your infielders.
Well, that's the chance you take. The runners do go, and it's high, ball 4, and the bases are loaded. Walk number 3 issued by John Mitchell. Still only 1 out, and Carney Lansford will be the hitter. Lansford 0 for 2. He grounded back to Mitchell in the first and grounded to third in the 4th inning. As a team this year, Oakland hitting .345 with the bases loaded. Strike 1. That won't help. That won't hurt your winning percentage at all. .345 with the bases loaded.
Well, we talked about intensity. Like this man right here, Carney Lansford, showed up with a T-shirt. Contentment stinks down in spring training. Stay focused.
A looper and a base hit over McKnight. Here comes Felix Jose. Here comes Gallego, and he scores. And just like that, Oakland comes back to take the lead as Henderson moves to third. It's 3-2 Oakland.
Well, this is Carney Lansford, 1989 version. Good pitch, outside part of the plate. You've seen 2 pitches right in that area. He's an inside-out hitter. Hits the inside of the ball, and that's exactly what he does. Didn't hit it well. Try to put it in play. Knows any ball to the right side most likely will score a run, which will tie it. He gets a bonus. 2 runs to put him ahead.
John Mitchell knows he has to back up home plate and shows his frustration as Dave Henderson fouls the first one back. Henderson 1 for 2. Picked up Oakland's first hit in the 4th inning, beating out a slow roller to third. And here comes Al Jackson, the Orioles pitching coach, out of the dugout.
No doubt Al coming out to talk to John Mitchell. Mitchell only 25, but this is his 33rd major league start. Did pitch with the Mets. He was acquired from the Mets. Al Jackson suggesting, after spending time in the Mets organization as their minor league pitching coach, that here was a guy that could give you innings and good pitching ability. Having a bad inning, though, Steve. You have those, and it's not the I think it's more pitch selection, not location, but pitch selection than anything. He's allowed Oakland not only to get back into the game, but as you see, get the lead.
Well, you pointed it out early in the inning with the 2 base hits by Hasse and Jose that started it. Both were started off with curveballs, and they both singled on the first pitch. Now, with still only 1 out, Henderson at third and Lansford at first for Dave Henderson.
Yeah, Henderson's always had that ability to hit late in the game, RBI situations, and that is what this is. I would be, if he looks for a curveball, to pull the ball. Otherwise, he's content going the other way, getting that 4th run in.
And it's outside, 2-1.
No, here's a guy that doesn't seem to get focused until it matters, and that's late in the ball game. Even last year, when his numbers were down, he was a great RBI man with runners in scoring position.
And he drives this one the other way, but it's going to be foul and out of play. And the count now 2-2. Henderson also having a much better second half since the All-Star break. He's hitting .316. And that goes along with the philosophy of kicking it up a notch when things get a little more serious.
Yeah, when Henderson gets hurt, that's Ricky Henderson. Canseco's out with the back problems. He has carried him over the last 10 days along with McGuire.
Sharply grounded foul outside third. Still 2-2.
9 years he's hit better against left-handed pitching, but I pitched against Henderson when he was up in Seattle, and I always felt he was a much better hitter than his numbers showed. I mean, he's a smart guy. He will look in area. You'll make a good pitch and he'll look out over the plate and he'll take that good pitch and hammer it into the seats. Not too many hitters can do that.
Out of play again. Still 2-2. That a pitch that you probably wouldn't swing at unless there were 2 strikes. But the good hitters seem to foul them off, and the bad hitters seem to put those in play for outs. And
when you're going bad, yeah, you pop them up and you keep them in play.
Henderson's been fouling them off 3 in a row now.
Well, one of the great hitters. He's now the batting coach up in Montreal. Kyle McRae. He could do that with the best of them. Luke Appling in the Hall of Fame.
This one may be in play. Steve Finley has a long run, but he's going to get there. Henderson will not try it. And a fine throw by Finley, even though it had to be knocked down by Tettleton. Finley, an outstanding outfielder, but I have to wonder that if Henderson did not have a bad hamstring, he might have tried it.
Second out on a nice catch by Finley. You're right. I think he's got to go, especially with 2 outs, but with McGuire coming up, it's one of those things. If you're Rene Latchman and you send him in at third and he makes it, everybody goes, great. Aggressive base running, but if you take the bat out of McGuire's hand, you wonder, well, but it was kind of a moot point tonight because of the injury. Tettleton took that right off the mask.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
Part of the fortunes of the job. Mark McGuire has popped out to Tettleton and grounded to third, and he takes outside for ball 1. 2 out now. Runners still at first and third, but 3 runs are in on 4 hits here in the 5th inning for Oakland.
Yeah, very ominous. Couple of lines on the scoreboard. Mark McGuire is hitting 300 with 4 home runs and 11 RBIs versus the Orioles this year.
Well, for his career, that's not too. I mean, this year he's hitting 300. For his career, that's not very good, because for his career he's hitting 329 here in Baltimore.
Like I said, he's having an off year. Only 30 home runs, only 4 against the Orioles.
Struggling. He's struggling.
Why can't we play these Eastern Division clubs?
Yeah, he's hitting 217 on the season. Now he's down about 215. He wishes he could hit against Baltimore all the time. This is out of play. 1-2.
Now, if we saw Nolan Ryan on the mound, Roger Clemens, the guy with a good fastball, Bobby Witt, somebody like that, they'd just try to buzz him up in the strike zone. Mitchell can do that. Normally throws a 2-seam fastball. You can go cross seams, but does he have a good enough fastball to get it by McGuire?
McGuire fouls another one out of play. He's throwing hard, and he's putting him in a pretty good location right
down and away. But if the ball moves in a little bit towards the center of the plate, that's right in his zone. Wants to get his arms extended. Of course, that's always that burning question. Do I have good enough stuff to get it by him on the inside part of the plate? Because that's when they hit it to the shortest part of the field.
Outside, 2-2.
You don't get a lot of relief in the Oakland lineup. You know, Gallego just over 200, Hasse just over 200, but not a lot of other soft spots.
Well hit to left center field. Orsulak back there, and it is gone. A 3-run home run for Mark McGwire. Number 31. And McGwire now with 81 RBI.
T-ball, Steve. Down and in. Just a matter of how far it will go.
Right fielder, Jose Canseco.
Very quickly, it is 6-2 Oakland.
The amazing thing is that John Mitchell's still in the ballgame.
Jose Canseco, the 9th Athletic to hit in this inning, takes a strike. He is 0 for 2, having grounded to short and struck out.
Yeah, that's comforting. You give up 6 runs, and who do you got to face? Canseco. The concentration is shot.
Now it's 0-2. That was a pretty good pitch right there. At least he's facing him with nobody on base.
Oh, yeah. Great news. That's the good news. The bad news is the 6 guys prior to Jose have scored.
And McGwire took care of the 2 that were on.
I guess you could be in a more relaxed attitude because you figure, hey, I just gave up 6. What the heck? Let's go get them.
Just rear back and fire it. 1-2. 6 runs in on 5 hits, and McGwire's 3-run home run, really the big blow, because at that point it was a 1-run game. 2-2.
Worst thing you can do as a pitcher, and I know John Mitchell did not try to do this, is big innings. Emotionally, physically, it takes your ball club right out of the game. You got to do everything in your power to minimize the damage.
Now that's a pitch that Canseco, had he not missed the last week or so, might have really hammered, and he missed it, fouling it back. Still 2-2.
Well, you've had back problems. I had them earlier in my career. Anybody sitting at home that's ever had a sore back, just getting up out of a couch, getting in a car, getting up in the morning, can tell you. Frank Robinson, back problems a couple of years, never came out on the field, couldn't make it.
Foul outside third. Still 2-2.
Because that's the year they lost 107 games. I don't think he wanted to come out to.
Yeah. wasn't
one of those
pushing
years.
it.
Right. I think I'll just stay in here and hide.
What difference will it make anyway?
Of course, Frank only lost 101 of those. Cal Ripken, the first 6 games.
And it may be playable. No, it's going to be back just outside the dugout. So still a 2-2 count to Jose.
Well, you can see right now as they're shooting, we have a share, as they call it, where we don't have total control of the cameras, but Jose doing gyrations at home plate because the back is bothering. They don't know from day to day whether he'll be able to play when it comes to the ballpark.
And after every swing, he's had to stretch it out. Boy, I can identify with that. And Mitchell takes too much time. 2-2 with 2 out and nobody on. Fair ball inside the bag. Jose Canseco, not running well, has an easy double because the ball caromed away from Orsulak, and you can see Canseco is having some pain. He was struggling.
They did not run hard. There's another curveball, and again, when you play percentage baseball, you play off the line. You throw a curveball and you hang it inside. Routine ground balls end up to be doubles, and that's what this is. Frank Robinson making his way to the mound as Canseco limps into second. First inning on a ground ball did not run hard. The intentions are to run hard, but let's see when he puts it in cruise. Slipping a little bit there. I'm sure that did not help the back. Anyway, 6 runs. Mitchell departs. Canseco at second. 6-2, the A's.
So we'll take a timeout as the pitching change is made and return to Baltimore in a minute.
Orioles make the pitching change in Baltimore. Let's go to Cincinnati. The Pirates and the Reds. No problem for any of the pitchers on the Pirates. Patterson here gets Larkin off the fist to preserve the victory for Mike York. 7-1 in game number 1. You can see them here next Friday. Right now, let's go back to Steve and Jim.
Thank you, John. It's 6-2 Oakland as the A's have scored 6. John Mitchell is gone, and Kurt Schilling is the new pitcher for the Orioles. He will face Ron Hassey, who led off this inning with a single and scored, and Canseco was at second with 2 out.
Kurt, fastball, slider, and a split finger. Talking to him before the game, has not been able to get that pitch over. He's been in 16 games 13 times. Those have been scoreless outings. Been roughed up by Toronto earlier.
Slicing foul down the left field line. 1 ball, 1 strike to Hassey.
Yeah, we do have the right angle.
Yeah,
to call it right off the bat.
We are around on the first base side of home plate.
Frank wondering about when is he going to get his pitching staff back. Ballard 1-10. He won 18 last year. Bob Malacki won 14. He's 4-8 on the disabled list. Only 2 starters from the initial 5 starters they had early on in the year. Anthony Telford will be called up from Double-A to pitch on Sunday for the Orioles.
A fastball for ball 2, 2-1.
Kurt Schilling coming over with Brady Anderson. Anderson, the center fielder tonight, August 2 years ago for Mike Boddicker. Trying to get youth for the veteran pitcher.
And at the risk of using the worn-out cliche, that is a trade that has helped both teams because Boddicker has done well.
Well, it's helped Boston more at this point. They like Schilling's arm, but as a starter, which is what he did at Rochester, he was pretty effective. In the big leagues, some nights is only a 1-pitch pitcher. Has a pretty good fastball, good movement. Needs a couple of other pitchers to go with him.
Ball 4, the second time Hassey has walked, and the inning, unmercifully for Oakland, stays alive. 10 now have batted, and Felix Jose will make it 11.
You know, earlier, Tony La Russa, Ron Hassey, Bob Welch a little bit upset with the strike zone. It is what I would call a small strike zone for both ways now. A couple of pitches right there, borderline. But if you are Mark Johnson and you have a small strike zone, you're a hitter's umpire. That doesn't make you a bad umpire, it just makes you a hitter umpire. You got to throw it over if you're pitching. Nobody wants, I mean, not too many guys want to do that. They want to just throw enough to get you to swing at balls.
Yeah, they like to work the black and have it be a strike.
And then even go a little bit farther and hope that you'll swing at it.
Jose is grounded to second, singled to left, and scored. Hassey at first and Canseco at second with 2 out. 1-1. Jose's now had 7 hits in his last 22 times up. So he's been hitting well over 300 lately.
Well, that's that bonus. Tony La Russa will try to convince you that they don't miss Dave Parker. 22 home runs, 95 RBIs as much as they maybe really do, because Jose can play the outfield and he's played it well. So if you're Tony, some nights you can rest Canseco, who's had the back problems, and DH him, as we're seeing tonight. Or actually, we're not seeing, we're seeing Henderson. And of course, with Ricky Henderson with the hamstring problem, you can rest, you can put Jose out in left field, and then you can DH with Henderson. So it gives Tony a few more options as a manager. I'm not sure if they don't miss that left-handed power.
I don't know. You know, how do you replace that many home runs and RBIs? That'll be out of play. So it's still 2-2 to Felix. And one good thing about Felix, so he can really play all 3 outfield positions, and he doesn't hurt you out there.
Now, I think they had some questions about that, but he has proved to be a good outfielder. I think the guy they really miss is Tony Phillips. Went over to the Tigers as utility man. He's playing regularly. He was playing regularly at third base for the Tigers as a free agent.
Willie Randolph has helped in that department. There's a slicing looper that's going to drop in left field for a base hit. Orsulak's throw will not make it, and Canseco, bad back and all, scores as he had a tremendous advantage running with 2 out, and it is now 7-2 Oakland. For Felix Jose, his 37th RBI.
You couldn't even throw it better than Jose did. Just hit it off the end of the bat. Orsulak overthrows Ripping, but Craig Worthington there. 7-2, and with 2 outs, you're never going to throw a guy out like Canseco, even with a bad back, because he's running on the swing. Scores easily.
Here's Walt Weiss, the 12th man to come to the plate in the inning. He flied deep to center in this inning. He's also walked. And he pops it up. Worthington in foul territory, and the inning is finally over. But the Athletics come from a 2-0 deficit to take a 7-2 lead with 7 runs in the 5th. One big crooked number up there in the 5th inning for Oakland, the difference in this ball game. 7 runs, and that's something the A's can do with frequency, is have big innings. So now Bob Welch staked to a 5-run lead as he tries to win his 20th game of the year. And David Segui, leading off the inning, takes a strike.
If you watch your team score 7 runs, you applaud, and then you go out there and take a few extra warm-ups. Welch at 33 has been around long enough to know when you sit for 15-20 minutes, even on a hot and humid night, it might get a little bit tight, so you get out there in a hurry. Tell your catcher to stay in the dugout a little bit longer, and you just get that little bit of an edge. And I don't think, I mean, Welch has only walked 2, and that's Tettleton. I think those were pitch arounds. He's struggled tonight, but he has made the big pitch so far when he's had to. He's going to come after him now.
You saw Hasse set up outside, and Welch right there to hit the corner, but Segui fouled it off. It's 0-2. You get almost 6 runs every 9 innings, and you ought to have a pretty good record.
Well, especially when you can pitch into the 7th and 8th inning, and you got Eckersley sitting in the bullpen.
Little bit high, 1-2.
I mean, when you got a guy out there like Eckersley, 37 out of 38 save opportunities he's been able to successfully save ball games, and you're the opposing manager, you better get it over with early. I mean, you better get all your strategy together, collect it, and get it in the first 7 or 8 innings. Not to mention the rest of the bullpen. I think they're the best in baseball. I can't think of a better one.
I talked to Eck before the game in an interview on SportsCenter, and he was very quick to give a lot of credit to the other guys in the bullpen, because he feels he wouldn't have the career he's had and wouldn't have 37 saves this year if it wasn't for the guys around him. That doesn't take anything away from the fact that he can do the job.
I think the point he's making is the other guys allow Tony La Russa to get to Dennis Eckersley and then use him very minimal just when he has to.
Out of play as Segui hangs in there. It's still 1 ball, 2 strikes. David drove in a run in the 2nd inning with a single to center, the 2-out base hit.
Yeah, I'm surprised if Welch is going to pitch David Segui away. They don't shift a little bit. Felix Jose in left moves over a few, but they're playing him just a couple of steps to left field.
Check swing roller, and it gets by Lansford for a base hit. Felix Jose over quickly to hold David Segui, who does not possess great speed, to a single. So a leadoff base hit, and we'll go to John Saunders in the studio for an update.
White Sox and the Rangers, and the Ryan Express continues to roll. This is the 10th inning as he gets Ron Karkovice. 15 strikeouts for Nolan Ryan. 203rd time in his career he's had 10 or more. He would leave the game in the 11th. That's where they stand now. Back to Steve and Jim.
I guess his back's feeling well.
11 innings, 15 strikeouts, and typical of Nolan Ryan, he has to leave the game without the victory. Now they may get it, but
yeah, I turn on baseball tonight after he wins his 300th, and I figure he's got another game. He's in the 8th inning. He's throwing, 150 pitches. He's trailing 6-4.
Wow.
Amazing.
He is He's not human, I don't
Oh,
think.
no, nobody's ever accused him of being that.
No, I hope he has donated his body to science after he dies, because we got to find out what's going on here. He and I are the same age, and I can't get out of bed in the morning. Jeff McKnight flied to center in his only previous at-bat back in the second inning. He played 7 years in the Mets minor league organization before he signed with Oakland as a free agent in December of last year. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I think one of the problems with a lot of players like Jeff McKnight, they can do things well, but they don't. It's like a pitcher that doesn't have that outstanding arm. He may win a AAA. If he gets a shot, he might be able to do it at the big leagues. Getting a shot is the biggest.
Base hit right field. Segui will stop at second. And the Orioles, with the bottom of the order and 2 rookies, come right back. 2 on and nobody out.
A little deja vu. We saw John Mitchell give up 3 base hits in a row, all on curveballs. Curveball to Segui to left field, split finger up in the strike zone, line drive right field. We'll see what Bob Welch, with a 5-run lead, will do to Brady Anderson.
Anderson 0 for 2. Popped out in foul territory and grounded back to the pitcher. Ball 1. Anderson, since he came off the disabled list July 20th, has hit .306. 1-1. That's over 19 games. Ground ball to first. Easy play for McGuire, but he has only 1 play, and that's to step on the bag as Segui moves to third and McKnight to second with 1 out. ESPN's baseball coverage continues with Sunday Night Baseball. This week, the New York Mets at San Francisco, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Sunday Night Baseball here on ESPN. Dwight Gooden is scheduled to pitch for the Mets on Sunday night. Steve Finley, the hitter, 1 for 2 with a fly to left and a single to center in the third.
Yeah, another base hit. Orioles right back in the ball game, only trailing by, of course, figuring they will score both runs, by 3.
Ball 2. Another very close pitch that is probably bringing a few words from the Oakland dugout.
Well, it's been a ball all night long for both teams. I think we saw that in the 7-run Oakland inning. Strike zone pretty small, and of course it's been that way all night. You have to adjust to it.
There's a strike. 2-1.
See, that ball was just at the knees. He got the call. Well, I was 1-8 with a guy, Steve Palermo, who I think is the best umpire in the American League. He just made me throw it over the plate. I didn't want to.
That's right over the plate. 2-2. No pitcher wants to throw it right over the plate.
Well, Nolan seemed to.
Well, yeah, it doesn't seem to make any difference with Noli.
No, the reason you don't want to throw it over is that most guys don't have good enough stuff.
No, that's true. Boy, that's another pitch. That right there is the pitch they have wanted and not gotten. 3-2.
Got to give Steve Finley a lot of credit. Normally, on a split finger fastball, 2 strikes, 2 balls, you would swing at that pitch. You think it just gives you the illusion that it's not going to, that it's going to stay right around the knees until it dips.
Curveball lofted to center field. Will it be deep enough to get the run home? Henderson makes the catch. David Segui not coming.
Well, it goes back to the point you said when he got the base hit. You said he does not run well. Otherwise, the score would be 7-3.
2 out. Let's go back to John Saunders.
Mariners and the Yankees. Andy Hawkins walked the bases full in the 6th, but he gets out of it, gets Alvin Davis to hit into the double play through 6. Andy Hawkins has a no-hitter. He already has one this year that he lost. Let's get it back to Stephen Jim.
Right here, it's still 7-2. The Orioles with 2 on with nobody out, and now they're still 2 on with 2 out. And they're both in scoring position for Cal Ripken, who over the last 22 games has driven in 21 runs, hitting .355. Fouled out of play for strike 1. Ripken tonight is 0 for 2. He has struck out swinging and grounded into an inning-ending double play.
Strike out the first time on a fastball inside, then the double play ball just kind of threw him that slider away. So he's gone in. He's gone on the outside part of the plate. Right then you can see Ron Hasse move. That's where he went with 1 strike.
1-1.
19-4. Boy, it's just amazing. And of course the reason, as we've talked about, almost 6 runs a game, but also the ability to adjust, as all veteran players have to do, whether you're a hitter or a pitcher.
A slider that has Ripken chasing it for strike 2, 1-2.
Yeah, the remarkable thing about that slider is, as we said earlier, he throws it 5 or 6 times and is able to throw it low and away, right where you want to throw it. A slider looks exactly like a fastball until you go to swing at it. That is if you have a good one.
Ted Williams said it was a pitch that made him glad he retired. And he gets Ripken with a fastball, and the inning is over. An inning of promise with nothing in return in the 5th. 2 left on for the Orioles. It's still 7-2 Oakland.
With his 31st home run in the game you're watching, but he's got a way to go to catch this guy. Cecil Fielder against Tom Candiotti. Home run number 38. A runner was aboard. He now has 98 runs batted in on the terrific season of Cecil Fielder. Back to Stephen Jim.
Well, you might call Cecil just the man this year. He has been the man for Detroit. Awesome season. 7-2 Oakland as we go to the bottom or the top half of the 5th inning, and a looper off the bat of Mike Gallego for out number 1 to Steve Finley in right field.
Yeah, the man is hitting about 50 points higher than what Sparky Anderson thought he would hit. He said he'll hit 30 home runs. And we see that he's already done that, but he said around 220, 230. He's up there almost at 290.
And he might hit 50 home runs.
Well, good hitter, good ballpark, new hitter. I don't think it really matters, though.
Well, I've seen him hit a lot of real good pitches a long way.
Reminds you of Mark McGwire, the year he hit 49. You know, low and away, low and in, curveballs, sliders, fastballs up and in. He hit them all, and that's what you got to do to hit 40-plus home runs.
Right. Ricky Henderson 0 for 2 plus a walk and a run scored. Ball 2. The media in Detroit had a poll at the beginning of the season as to how long it would be before Cecil Fielder.
The cesspool.
Yeah.
I was there
Went
that
out.
Saturday. And he hit one that afternoon off Dave Johnson. Everybody's hitting one off Dave Johnson. Leading the major leagues in home runs.
The cesspool was over in a hurry.
Yeah, you kind of had a view of what was to come. He just took a fastball out over the plate, poked it down the right field line in Detroit. Looked like he could do it anytime he wants as Henderson walks.
Ball 4. Kurt Schilling allows his 2nd walk since entering the game with 2 out on the 5th in relief of John Mitchell. Lately in baseball, the team that has won the World Series has not fared very well the next year, with the exception of the Minnesota Twins, who didn't have all that great a year in 1987. So an improvement on that respect may be a little different than what happened to the other teams. But what will happen to the A's? They don't show any signs, as we've talked about early in the telecast and throughout. This year, they haven't shown any signs of taking that nosedive.
Well, good organization, good general manager, Sandy Alderson. Yeah, they lose Storm Davis as a free agent, Tony Phillips, Dave Parker. What do? You sign Scott Sanderson. I think he's won 13 games for him. They're not afraid to spend money, $23.5 million to Canseco for 5 years. That's the most in baseball. Tough to mess up this team.
No, that's right.
But you do have to get him pointed in the right direction.
Well, you know, anything can happen. And you think back to the A's dynasties of the early 70s. Charlie Finley, of course, dismantled that team. And there's no telling how long they could have been a force. And this Oakland team is reminiscent of that team in their ability to dominate and do all things well and have depth. Plus, they have a pretty darn good manager in Tony La Russa.
Well, the reason I talk about the organization, when you get a #1 draft choice, McGuire, we saw him hit his 31st, Weiss the #1 draft choice, and then you go down, what, the 15th round to get Canseco, take a shot on a guy that then was scrawny. I find that hard to believe, but
I don't think he was scrawny when he was 3 years old. Henderson at first with 1 out. The possibility of him stealing diminished by his hamstring injury, but you never know
and also the scoreboard.
Yeah, with a 5-run lead.
Yeah, you'd hate to blow out a hamstring.
Why
even at 49 out of 55 this year.
Lansford with a base hit over the bag. Henderson cruising. He's not pushing it, but he's going to make it to third easily. And Lansford has a double, his second hit of the night.
2-run single his last time up. He went the other way. Schilling trying to get in on side. Now watch where the ball is. Down and in. Again, Worthington playing way off the line. Again, that's something you do. You read the defensive reports. You don't expect anybody ever to hit it over the bag. Wouldn't have mattered. Only in the late innings. If you're playing out of position, you catch that ball. You got to play percentage baseball. I think they're playing a little bit too far off the line, but that's a double any way you look at it.
Now they have brought the infield in all the way around as they don't need to give up anymore. Down by 5 already here in the 5th inning. Dave Henderson fouling it out of play for strike 1.
Well, I think personally it's not going to be a second guess because I'm going to do it before. You got to walk this gentleman right here and take a shot at getting out of the inning trailing by 5 runs, even though it's Mark McGuire. This guy is too good a hitter in this situation.
Fouls another one off. Well, at least Schilling's now ahead of him. No balls and 2 strikes, but I agree with you. They're all right-handed hitters. You've got a right-hander going, and you're with only 1 out, desperately in need of a double play.
Well, you're desperately in a need of not giving up another run.
And if you can get the force at home, so much the better if you can't get a double play ball. But he strikes out Henderson for the 2nd out of the inning.
Like we said, they should pitch to him and try to go for the strikeout, Steve. Well, he did make 3 fine pitches. Like we said, don't walk him. Try to strike him out, and then you can take your chances with McGuire. Oh, it's a great game, isn't it?
Well, just when, you know, I mean, that's one thing that makes it great. There are 42 different ways to do something. And that doesn't mean any of them are necessarily more right or more wrong. Righter or wronger.
I mean, right here, if you're a pitching coach, a fan of the Orioles, you got to say, Curt Schilling, take a stretch. You got Henderson over at third, taking a big lead. You look at him. If you move your hands, if you start at all, he's going to balk another run.
2 balls, no strikes.
If you take a stretch from this position, you can look right at Ricky Henderson. You don't have to hurry. You can be relaxed. When you take a windup, I doubt if he'll go, as we talked about, because of the hamstring problem, but he makes your job a lot more difficult as a pitcher.
2-1 to McGuire. Mark tonight 1 for 3, but it was a big one. A 3-run home run and his 31st of the year. It was also a long one. Well into the evening.
But just watch his hands. A long swing because he's got a loop. He's got a loop in the swing. That's why I think if you throw him a lot of fastballs and get in a good spot, you'll be successful.
He fouled that off.
That's what Mitchell did the first time.
Right.
And then he made a mistake, and he paid for it.
2-2 now to Mark. 2 out and 2 on. Runners at 2nd and 3rd. Rex Barney, the PA announcer here at Memorial Stadium.
Well, what a nice man he is. No hitter with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
2 big strikeouts by Curt Schilling to prevent further damage here in the 6th inning. A walk, a hit, and 2 left. Having a year somewhat like his Yankee teammates. He had a no-hitter going earlier and lost the game as Sam Horn grounds to Mark McGuire for the 1st out here in the 6th.
He's got to learn when to pitch and when not to, and when to pitch around guys and when not to. Well, you do have years like that. You know, when everything you do goes well, you get a lot of support. Bob Welch, one of those years. I mean, he has pitched a little bit better than he did last year or the year before when he won 17, but he reminds me of Steve Stone. 1980, Steve won 25 games, the Cy Young Award. When he pitched well, the club played well. When he didn't pitch well, the club played well, and he still won.
Trying to bunt his way on is Orsolak. And Welch gets him for out number 2.
Second consecutive bunt by Orsolak. What does that tell you about the way he feels he's swinging?
Not very well. He got on a base hit bunting in the 4th. Bob Welch, very quick to get to 20 this year, but not the quickest. Look at Denny McClain. Of course, he won 30 games that year, so that was July 27th. Vida Blue, Sandy Koufax, and Steve Carlton all making it earlier than Welch, who appears to be in a position to do it tonight, leading by 5 runs. Tettleton, who has walked twice and scored a run, the hitter, with 2 out and nobody on.
Again, back to Steve Stone. The last time somebody got to 20 wins this early, it's lofted deep to right field, was Steve Stone back in the 80s at least, and that was in 1980. Wilbur Wood in 73.
Well, there's no substitute for run support. You know, and it also appears that almost every club has a guy who pitches very well for whom they do not score runs. Bob Gibson had almost a career like that. He was on a club that didn't score a lot of runs and won a lot of 1-0, 2-1 ball games.
Well, it makes you a lot better pitcher, but you also, because of the fact that you don't get that support, you lose a lot of ball games, especially if you're like Gibson. I think my best year, I lost 11 games, only gave up 2 runs a ball game, 209. But if you get 34 or 35 decisions out of 36 or 37 starts, you're going to lose some. How about him in Gibson when he had that incredible, 1.12 ERA? Wasn't he 23-9, something like that?
Yeah,
how did he lose 9 games?
How in the world did he lose 9 games? 3-2 now to Tettleton. Bob Gibson single-handedly responsible for lowering the mound in baseball. After that year of 1968,
Thanks a lot.
They whacked 5 inches off the pitcher's mound.
Except in Dodger Stadium.
Yes, of course. Ripped to right. Tettleton hammers the 3-2 pitch for a 2-out single. That is the 7th hit for the Orioles.
Yeah, Bob Welch saying, I walked you the last 2 times, Mickey. This time 3-2, 5-run lead. Before he did not have that lead, I'm going to make you swing the bat. And Mickey did.
And quite well.
Yeah, good swing.
So here's Worthington, who has grounded to short twice. Once of those. Okay. One of those turned into a double play. Yes, I am a professional pronouncer, although quite often pronounced incorrectly. That's out of play down the right field line, and it's strike 1.
Yeah, big double play, too. 4th inning trailing. Bob Welch was by 2 runs. Runners at first and second. He gets a double play, gets out of the inning, and then his team puts 7 on the board. Turn this game right around.
Fly ball down the right field line, and Canseco over near the stands. Did he get it? No, he did not. It wasn't for lack of trying. Bad back and all, and just out of his reach.
Well, when you get home, you'll have the pleasure to read Sports Illustrated, I think a different perspective on Jose Canseco. A very interesting article that maybe gives you a little bit different glimpse of the guy that we think we all know. I tell you, I cannot think of a better player in either league. A guy that can do more things when he's healthy.
Gallego to McGuire will end the inning. 1 hit and 1 left in the 6th for Baltimore, and Bob Welch cruising toward number 20, leading by 5. Welcome back to Baltimore, where it's 7-2 Oakland as we go to the 7th inning. Steve Zabriskie and Jim Palmer with you. And baseball tonight Another doubleheader will be coming your way. Next Tuesday night, these Baltimore Orioles will be in Boston to take on the Red Sox. Some of you will see the Cubs at Cincinnati. That starts at 7:30 Eastern time. And then Game 2, Philadelphia at Los Angeles. And some of you will see Baltimore, or Montreal rather, at San Francisco. Our Tuesday night ESPN Major League doubleheader next week. Jose Canseco will lead off the 7th inning for the A's, who lead by 5. And the way Jose swings, you would never know his back was bothering him. He has grounded to short, struck out, and doubled and scored. 1 for 3. Check swing foul, 0-2.
It's the first time Schilling's been able to use the split finger for a strike. Getting back to Jose. Beginning of last year, Jim Lefevre, who was a batting instructor for the Oakland A's the year before last, before he became manager up in Seattle, says, who's the best offensive hitter in baseball? Routine ground ball for Cal Ripken over to Segui for the out. I said, what is this, a pop quiz? He said, Jose Canseco, best on-base percentage. That's the year he hit 42 home runs, 40 steals, hit 300. Got to go a long way when you find Jose healthy to find anybody better than that. Getting paid for it, though, well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it talks about it. He has an addiction. It's cars. Doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs. That, I think, in weights.
Yeah, he has touched a weight or two in his time. And he also likes, we might say, fast cars. Yes. Fast, expensive cars, not just any old car. Ron Hasse, the hitter, he has walked twice, sandwiched on either side of a single, and scored a run.
Yeah, I don't know how you can say that. Porsche, Lamborghini, Jaguar.
Those are the routine family, clunkers to work. Down low, 1-1.
But a very proud man. He said his father came from Cuba, hardly making anything, makes over $60,000. So he got his work ethics, even though his father's not a good athlete, from him.
2-1.
A very revealing article.
Well hit, a sharp one, Hopper. Good play by Ripken, and he completes it for the 2nd out here in the 7th inning. A reminder that this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of Major League Baseball and may not be rebroadcast or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. We must tell you that every game so you don't go doing it. How many people are going to run out and do that? I don't know.
What do you mean, retransmit or rebroadcast?
Yeah.
Which are you talking about?
Either one. Recreate.
Oh, God, if we didn't say that, just think how we could change the lives of so many. They'd all be out there retransmitting and rebroadcasting.
That's right. Think of all the kids who would want to put on the tape and pretend to do play-by-play.
There are a lot of those, especially when I do it for the Orioles. I got a legion of young fans here.
And they look to you as their mentor, do they?
No, not exactly.
Felix Jose down on strikes. Curt Schilling retires the A's in order. That's the first time they have gone in order since the 1st inning. They still lead by 5.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi Motors dealer. By Rheem Air Conditioning. Rheem, the air of quality. By Energizer Batteries. Nothing outlasts the Energizer. And by Budweiser, the king of beers. Remember, know when to say when.
Rookie Dave Segui will lead off the bottom of the 7th inning for Oakland. The O's, or for Baltimore, the O's trailing Oakland by 5 after 6.5. And Segui with a good night. He is 2 for 2. A single to center and a single to left, and he has driven in a run. And he just got here from Rochester today.
Yeah, where he was hitting .336. He is a switch hitter. I mean, he's a terrific first baseman. Great range. Check swing. Swung the last base hit, just a high breaking ball that he hit right over the third base bag. I think the reason he didn't call him up earlier, number one, Milligan playing real well, and also the fact there's Joe Price warming up, or at least beginning to toss in the Oriole bullpen. Only 2 home runs in Rochester, but he is very young.
And he slaps this one hauled down by Lansford for out number 1. Well, so far, been a pretty awesome outing for Welch with 65% of his pitches for strikes. And 100 pitches at this point in the 7th inning is not bad. It's maybe a little more than you'd like to have. But with Eckersley, again, as you pointed out, Tony La Russa really doesn't worry about it a whole lot. And also with a big 5-run lead, not even the kind of game where you would think right now about bringing Eckersley in anyway.
Well, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. Every time he's had to get a big out, he's been able to get it, with the exception of the Horn home run and the Segui base hit.
Popped up, but it's going to be out of play into the seats.
You know, tremendous comfort zone when you play for a team like Oakland or any good team, but especially Oakland because of their intensity, the fact that if you go out there and you do your job and you hang around, don't have that big inning, which is what killed the Orioles, 7 runs by Oakland in the 5th, you'll be in the ball game. You'll give them the ability to come back. You'll give them the ability to make the plays behind you, and then you'll give Tony La Russa the ability to bring in Eckersley.
McKnight with a ground ball to short. Walt Weiss just in time to get McKnight. 2 out in the 7th.
You know, it's so easy for us to sit up here and say here, hey, you know, there's a great shortstop, Walter Weiss. He's got a great reliever. But the reason that Eckersley is a reliever, and the reason that Dave Stewart has won 20 games 3 years in a row and will probably do it for the 4th year this year, is because of Tony La Russa. He made Eckersley a reliever. He gave Stewart, with about 5 or 6 ball clubs, the chance to start the first night he managed the Oakland A's. So, yeah, you can push a lot of buttons, but he's created those buttons to push.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt, obviously, that he has a lot of talent on the team.
Well, look at Dave Henderson. I mean, he was out of a job. Nobody wanted him. Red Sox didn't want him.
And he is the everyday center fielder now.
Exactly.
Down low. Ball 1 to Brady Anderson, who's 0 for 3. He has popped out and grounded out twice. And the big breaking ball stays high, 2-0.
You know, it's not a pressureless existence, though. Talking to Terry Steinbach, who has one of these type of players where he's got a good first half or a good good second half or vice versa every year. He said you got to be intense to do what you're supposed to do for this ball club.
Easy play for Felix Jose and an easy inning for Bob Welch in the 7th. He leads by 5, heading toward his 20th victory for the first time in his career. Joe Price will be the new pitcher for Baltimore as we go to the 8th inning with Oakland leading by 5. Price, the 3rd pitcher of the night for the O's, relieving now Curt Schilling.
4th team for Joe, and he has pitched extremely well. The ERA is that high because 3 or 4 times it's just got pulverized. The numbers are good. He has struggled as of late, but he's done a nice job for Frank Robinson. Kevin Hickey, normally the left-handed guy, he was sent to Rochester, so Joe Price, with the exception again of a couple of times, has done the job for the Orioles. His job right here, even though he trails by 5, is to keep it right there.
One more game to come tonight. Doubleheader night here on ESPN, and the Mets will be in Candlestick to take on the San Francisco Giants. Frank Viola scheduled to go for the Mets. He has struggled his last 2 times out, but Frankie will try to make some sweet music tonight against the reeling Giants, who have fallen 9 games behind Cincinnati.
How about Big Lou? Lou saying we're going to win, and they did.
They did. And since then, even though Roger Craig was upset, the Giants have been on the skids. So we'll see what happens tonight. In the stick. Stay with us. Of course, John Saunders will be here all night long, updating you.
As always.
Not missing a beat. If it's happening in baseball, you'll see it here on ESPN.
Yes, I knew John when he was here in Baltimore. Hope his golf game's improved.
Well, he's a Canadian. You know?
Hey?
They don't play a lot of golf. Walter Weiss into the corner. He'll have an easy double to lead off the 8th inning as the A's just continue. Oakland now with 10 base hits.
I think one of the problems that Joe Price has, if you look at Weiss's double, Walt just taking his first at bat from the right side and lashing it down into the corner, is that when you come in, I saw this last Saturday night when he came in a ball game trailing by about 6 or 7 runs, his concentration. I don't care how old you are. One of the most difficult things, whether you're a hitter when the game's out of reach or a pitcher or even sometimes the defensive player, is concentrating. He laid that right down the middle and Walt jumped all over it.
Gallego 1 for 3, drove in a run with a single in the 5th inning.
One of the problems that Price has had during the 1990 season is back problems. You know, we've talked at length about Jose Canseco's, but when you're about 6'4" as Joe and your back hurts, I don't see him throwing as well or as making as good of pitches as he did about 2 months ago before the back injury. Spent some time on the DL.
He's missed with the first 2 to Gallego.
And if you look at Joe Price, he's played with Cincinnati and then San Francisco. Granted free agency, granted free agency. I don't think sometimes you'll tell them if your back hurts when you're about 34. You're going to hang around. Sometimes you mask injuries. Not only do you hurt yourself, but you hurt the ball club.
A lot of times pride is a big factor. And sometimes players just will not admit to themselves that they are hurt. And we've been informed that Bob Tewksbury has a perfect game going in St. Louis through 6 innings. Gallego doing what he's supposed to do. Hits the ball to the right side and moves Weiss over to third with 1 out.
7-2. You'll never, ever, if you just pick up the box score tomorrow, see that Mike Gallego did what he was supposed to do. I mean, you could see that it was a very purposeful at bat. Merv Rudderman talking about that these guys stopped trying to score runs. That didn't show me that there. He did what he was supposed to do. He did it well. And now Rickey Henderson with the infield in, a much better chance of getting an RBI. He can fly out, get a sacrifice fly, doesn't count as a time at bat, and add to the lead.
Rickey tonight is 0 for 2, but he has walked twice and scored a run. The infield in all the way around for Baltimore. Ball 1. Weiss at third and 1 out. I get a kick out of Rickey when he talks about his hammy. It's almost as if it's, I don't know, another person, an alter ego. A personal friend of his.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't for the last 10 days. I told him just hit the ball the other way. Stop trying to hit home runs. I said you try to pull the ball, and then you realize it's, you know, you're in a bad position to run. You got to accelerate, and you end up pulling something. So just keep hitting those looping line drives to right. Well, I'll tell you what, he'd run the count to 3-2. I didn't want to walk him because I know he'd steal second or third. He could just flare him into right over second.
Just flick it out there.
But he can also take you very deep.
Now he's down, a ball and 2 strikes. Fouled back, still 1-2.
You saw him shaking his head. That's because he does not like Mark Johnson's strike zone. See?
Now he has complained about inside pitches being called strikes every single at bat, even though he's walked twice tonight. Weiss led off the inning with a double and went to third on Gallego's ground out to second. Fouled off, still a ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, we talked about how do you lose Storm Davis, who was 19-7, Tony Phillips, who hit .345 over the last month and a half and then had a good World Series. How do you lose Parker with the 95 or 97 RBIs, 22 home runs? You got this guy for a full year, and then he has a terrific year, leading the league in batting. 21 home runs, only been thrown out 6 times, 49 times successfully.
Well, if Canseco is the best all-around player in the game, Rickey Henderson is the best leadoff batter in the game.
No doubt about it.
Here's a guy with power and batting average who also walks a tremendous amount. It's just, and the speed and everything else, he's just a perfect lead. If you're going to build one, you'd build a Rickey Henderson. waiting on the breaking ball and gets it into right field for an RBI single.
If Gallego does not get Walt Weiss to third base, Segui catches that ball because he's about 4 steps back at first. You get the second out, but you get the runner going to the third. So with 2 outs, you don't have another run in and would make it 8-2. Right here, if he's 3 or 4 steps back, he's got a better angle. He can knock it down. Price will cover first, and you'll have 2 outs. Because of Mike Gallego, it's now 8-2, and Henderson can pretty much do what he wants at first.
And there's Ricky with 2 strikes, flicking that ball to right field again. And here's Carney Lansford, who has a single and a double in 4 at-bats. He takes a strike. Carney has also driven in a run and scored a run. Oakland now by 6 with 1 out in the top of the 8th inning. 1-1.
In the 80s, only 2 right-handed hitters to win batting championship. You're looking at one right here at .336, which is what he hit last year, 1981, to win the batting crown in the American League. He also was bothered, Steve, with a hamstring problem. When you look at his numbers, and they're coming up because he's hit much better since he's got healthy. 2 for 4 tonight, came in hitting .280. He is the perfect right-handed second place hitter.
Outside, always has had a good eye, made good contact, and he can still run.
Yeah, again, I think that his base number of stolen bases are down this year because of the hamstring problem, but we've seen him pull the ball, dump one in the right field for 2 RBIs.
Fouled off out of play. It's 3-2 now. But you're talking about his average coming up on the recently concluded homestand for the A's. He hit .382, and he raised his average 10 points doing that.
You also have to be willing to take a lot of pitches. And a lot of guys don't like to hit behind a base stealer because it's a distraction. They'll be faking, stealing. Maybe not tonight because of the hamstring problem.
Fouled back again. Yeah, Henderson, under different circumstances, with a full count and 1 out, and Carney Lansford up there able to make contact, would be going anyway.
Yeah, the
but
only
you
time
don't want to blow it out again with a 6-run lead.
What makes that .336 average so impressive? He did it where he plays half his games in Oakland. A lot of foul territory. Ball doesn't carry that well.
And he knew that he was taking strike 3. He just got fooled, and that's out number 2.
Doesn't happen very often. You said a good contact hitter. Only 25 times in 1989 did he strike out, but this time just fooled by the changeup by Joe Price. 33rd time here in 1990.
Price had him going with all those fastballs and then yanked one on him. So here's Dave Henderson, 1 for 4. Out of play for strike 1.
Yeah, they talk about Hindu. They said, you know, he just prides himself. You used the word pride a couple of innings ago, just talking about this ball club or players in general showing up every day and playing well, but he always talks about his ability to hit in the clutch. Most memorable home run, 86 playoffs. 2 strikes, 2 outs off of Donnie Moore. Got the Red Sox another opportunity to play that would have ended it 4-1.
And again, yanked the World Series out from under Gene Mauch, who was managing California at the time.
I'll tell you what, I was doing that game with Al Michaels. You get a bases loaded situation to Doug DeCinces up, tie ball game, and Mauch said I would have bet the ranch that DeCinces would have gotten the run in. Popped up, Grich made an out, and on went the Boston Red Sox to get in that World Series where they ultimately lost.
A breaking ball fouled off, and Henderson was running on the pitch, although not screaming toward second. And he will gingerly go back to first. Sometimes the way Ricky runs and walks, it's hard to know whether he's hurt or not. Ever notice how guys that have a lot of speed often walk as if their feet hurt?
Mickey Rivers.
Yes, always as if he had the wrong shoes on, or the shoes on the wrong feet or something. Another one fouled out of play. Still 0-2.
I was wondering why you walk so funny.
Yeah, well, I just, you know, get up in the morning. I can't see. I put the wrong shoes on.
Oh, no. Come on, you're a fast guy.
Well, that was many years ago. Oh,
there's Frank Robinson. He wasn't fast, but boy, was he a good base runner.
There are some guys who are fast who are not good base runners. Two do not ordinarily go together, or automatically anymore. Hendu fouls another pitch back. Joe Price just keeps coming, and Henderson just keeps fouling them off. 2 out. Ricky Henderson at first. No balls and 2 strikes to Dave. There's the ball finally. 1-2.
Yeah, what Henderson does at the plate is what a golfer does with a little waggle, trying to set the club. Watch him on his left foot, try to get his balance back as the pitch is thrown.
Up in the strike zone, and will it fall in? Yes, it will. A ball that looked to be catchable. Orsulak pulled up, and Henderson makes it to third, and Henderson makes it to second. It's a double for Dave Henderson. It's the 3rd hit and the 2nd double of the inning.
Henderson's grinning because he gets this ball on the end of the bat. I believe that Orsulak felt the ball was off the wall. You never can assume that. Ball bounces, as you said, very catchable, but only if Joe continues to run all the way. I think with the runner on first, he figured I'll play it off the wall and we'll keep the run from scoring.
McGuire makes it a moot point as he pops up, and if Jeff McKnight stays with it, the inning will be over, and it is. 1 run on 3 hits, and with the 8th inning score of 8-2, we'll go to John Saunders in the studio.
Of the Astros, gets him to check his swing, but enough of it for the strikeout as he finishes with a 5-0 lead into the 7th inning. He's trying for the perfect game. It would be the 9th no-hitter of the season. Let's go out to St. Louis right now. The Astros in the cards.
Tewksbury has started this inning in typical fashion with a called strike to Yelding. And there's another on the outside corner at the knees. Bill Brown, when you left, the Astros didn't have any hits, and they haven't gotten any while you were gone.
Well, let's see what the final 3 innings will bring, Larry, and hopefully it will bring several of them, as well as runs scored. Continues to lead in now.
1-2 the count now. And Yelding hits one to Pendleton. Pendleton to Walling. 1 down.
This may, in some ways, Larry, remind you of a spring training type game these two might have played at Kissimmee or at St. Petersburg. It's looked that easy for Tewksbury.
Pendleton has handled 5 balls this evening.
Now Billy Doran, he's bounced out twice to second. And Tewksbury continues to get the slow breaking ball over to jump ahead in the count.
The Astros have hit only 2 balls into the outfield. A couple of pop-ups to Ozzie Smith, a couple of fly balls to Milt Thompson in right, and 1 fly ball to left field. 3 fly balls to the outfield, 2 pop-ups, 2 strikeouts, the rest ground balls.
Doran looks, and it's 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Probably not going to get any easier, because as this guy goes much farther, he's going to build some adrenaline behind those pitches.
Oh, boy, is he ever keeping the hitters off balance tonight. That is his 3rd strikeout, out number 2 in the 7th for Tewksbury.
And it's not just the Astros, because the last time he pitched a 4-hit shutout against the Pirates. Oh, get ahead in the count and then throw one just out of the zone. And even a guy with a good eye like Doran feels compelled to swing at that pitch.
Now Caminetti. He gets under one. And in right field, Milt Thompson has it measured. That is 7 perfect innings by Bob Tewksbury. And they will really rise for him at 7th inning stretch time. They are up already. Cardinals lead at 5-0.
Bob Tewksbury now through 7 innings with a perfect game for the St. Louis Cardinals. We will keep you updated and return there for the 8th inning as he tries to go for the 9th no-hitter of the season. Right now, those of you who are watching Major League Baseball Magazine, we return you to the show. Those of you who are watching the Orioles and the A's, let's get back to Steve Zabriskie and Jim Palmer in Baltimore. Gentlemen.
Thank you, John. And as we come back, Sam Horn gets a base hit to center field with 1 out here in the 8th inning. The hitter prior to Sam Horn, Cal Ripken, hit his 15th home run of the year over the left center field fence to make it an 8-3 game. Here's Ripken's homer.
As we said, number 15, Cal with 20-plus home runs. The last 8 years would like to do that this year after a slow start. Told you about the new stance. It is working. He has been very hot. But tonight undone by the 7-run 5th that the Oakland A's had.
Dave Duncan, the A's pitching coach, out to talk to Welch and see how he's doing, as he has now given up 3 runs on 9 hits.
Yeah, pretty humid night. We saw last inning, 100 pitches. He had a quick 7th inning. You don't want to get him that long because not only will it affect him tonight as far as his ability, but also next start. And you have the best bullpen in baseball out there waiting. 5-run lead. You got a lot of options if you're Tony La Russa.
Joe Orsulak, the hitter, and he takes a strike. Orsulak tonight 1 for 3. A reminder, we'll be covering the perfect game in progress by St. Louis's Bob Tewksbury. Gallego over, he goes to second, and they get Horn. Good play by Gallego and Weiss, and they knew who was running.
That's a good call because that's the only reason with a 5-run lead that you make this play. It's still a risky play only because he couldn't set himself. Had to make the throw from midair. Great angle to watch it right here. Now watch, he knows he has the second out at first base. Knows Horn's running. This will be an off-balance throw. It's not a consistent percentage throw. But believe it or not, if you come out here early, you will see guys work on plays like this. The only way you can make it is to work on it and have the agility. Horn cannot run. They know it.
Meanwhile, Mickey Tettleton ends the inning by lining out to the second baseman Gallego. A run on 2 hits, a home run by Ripken, and it is 8-3 Oakland at the end of 8. Here's our Budweiser storyline tonight. Just take a look at that big number 7 in the 5th inning for Oakland, and that really is the story of the game. 7 hits in the inning, a season high for the Athletics. McGuire, his 31st home run of the season. Ripken, who is on a tear, hitting close to 400 over his last 22 games, his 15th. Sam Horn also a home run for Baltimore tonight, but Bob Welch, going for his 20th win, has completed 8 innings. Whether or not he will pitch the 9th remains to be seen.
You know, talking about Bob Welch, the assumption, if you run your record at 20-4, you got to think you're a candidate for the Cy Young Award, and he is, but right on his tail. Roger Clemens, he's 17-5 with a 2.06 ERA. A lot of strikeouts. Oh, Dave Stewart, he's got 17. And a much better ERA than he's had in the other years when he won 20 games. So it will be a very competitive race.
It has yet to be decided, I think we could say. So is the home run title, although Fielder crushed another one tonight. Canseco right behind him by a few now, a handful of home runs.
McGuire right behind him with 31.
Right, McGuire sneaking up on Jose.
Yeah, Merv Redham, the hitting instructor, one of my former teammates, saying, I wish that Fielder would hit 45 because it seems like every time Canseco checks out the box scores or the league leaders, he gets hot. But I don't think he's swinging well because of the back problem. Big swings, but just doesn't seem to be able to stay on the ball. You don't know if that's because of the inactivity or because of the injury. He's not getting cheated, though.
No, he's taken some serious hacks, but tonight he only has a double in 4 at-bats. A ball he pulled down the line just over the third base bag. Fouled back, and it's still 2-2 as Joe Price just keeps firing fastballs in there. Price working his second inning in relief. He gave up a run on 3 hits in the 8th. Nelson on the left and Eckersley on the right in the Oakland bullpen. Depending on the situation.
I think off day, Eckersley may be up throwing. We may see Gene Nelson.
Both the O's and the A's did not play yesterday as they traveled from the West Coast here to Baltimore. And I would, under the circumstances, say Gene Nelson is the likely candidate. Out of play again. 3-2 to Canseco leading off the 9th. Ron Hasse and Felix Jose to follow. One thing about Jose, he's getting his hacks in here. He's fouled off a number of pitches and more than just this at bat. Ball 4.
Yeah, you wonder why he can hit the ball so far. The reason is that he uses the big bat and then the bat speed. Very few guys can swing a big bat. Talked about it earlier, that hard. And most guys trying to get bat speed, they go to a lighter bat, less wood, less mass. That's why he can pulverize it.
And he does. Wednesday night, these world champion Athletics will be at venerable old Comiskey Park to take on their nemesis and their challenger, the Chicago White Sox. Some of you will see Seattle at Texas Wednesday night, 8:30 Eastern Time here on ESPN. Hasse fouls it back. And let's go back to John Saunders for an update from the studio. John.
Thanks, gentlemen. Bob Tewksbury pitched in just 1 game for the St. Louis Cardinals last year into the 8th inning with a perfect game. Let's go to St. Louis and join Bill Brown and Larry Dierker.
The Astros' first hit falls in. He goes to second base. The throw won't get him, and the Astros have broken up the perfect game bid of Bob Tewksbury on the first pitch of the 8th inning.
Oh, what a game he has pitched. And the Cardinals fans get up on their feet to salute Tewksbury, and he certainly deserves it. Good idea to swing at the first pitch off this guy because it's been a strike almost every time. Stubbs didn't hit it all that well, but he hit it on a line. Good, clean hit.
His 14th double of the year.
No problem for the official scorer there.
None whatsoever. It was clean, as you said. Glenn Wilson takes a strike. Pendleton checks Stubbs and throws out Wilson. 1 out.
So we get to St. Louis just in time to see Bob Tewksbury lose the perfect game and lose the no-hitter as Franklin Stubbs came up with a clean double in the game. But Tewksbury's still working on a terrific season and working on the shutout. We'll keep you updated a little bit later on. Right now, those of you who are watching Major League Baseball magazine, we return to the show. Those of you who are watching the Orioles and the A's, let's get back to Memorial Stadium to Steve and Jim.
Thanks, John. That was perfect timing, I guess, unless you're Bob Tewksbury or the Cardinal fan. But a great outing by Tewksbury as Stubbs broke it up. Here, while we were away, Hasse popped out to the third baseman Worthington. And then Felix Jose picked up his 3rd hit of the night with a single to center, moving Doug Jennings, who is pinch running for Jose Canseco, down to 2nd. And Walt Weiss takes high and accounts 2 balls and no strikes to Walter, who is 1 for 3 with a double and a run scored.
A pretty good observation on your part about Joe Price, just coming at you, but not making very good pitches. That's a lot of base hits. Might be the back bothering him. Not getting the ball down at all.
Weiss drives one to right field. Steve Finley is there, however, makes the catch. Jennings tagging will advance to 3rd with 2 out.
To me, it's always been an interesting thing. If you're a pitcher and you're trying for a perfect game, if you have that type of perfectionist personality, you don't give in to hitters. So when you have the perfect game going, You know you have to throw strikes. You want to do the same things as if you had a big lead. Make the hitter hit the ball because of the fact that it is a perfect game. If you have a no-hitter going and you block somebody or somebody's made an error, you have a tendency with a big lead to pitch around guys.
Well, apparently Tewksbury didn't do that with Franklin.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We couldn't because of the perfect game.
Right.
Made too good of a pitch. Otherwise, he might have hit it at somebody.
Mike Gallego 1 for 4, drove in a run and scored a run with a single in the 5th inning. Runners at first and third with 2 out. And Oakland's been busy in just about every inning. They have only gone in order in the 1st and the 7th. Fouled back. 1-1. 8-3 Oakland. Price, the third pitcher of the night for Baltimore, as Bob Welch is headed toward win number 20.
They call late August when your team's not playing well the dog days. Well, Joe Price is trying to pitch the dog innings. Team's trailing. Somebody's got to get him out where the game keeps going.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Gallego.
Tough to concentrate. You'd much rather be in a win-lose situation, but if you don't concentrate, your ERA skyrockets. Raises are harder to get.
Probably the toughest situation to pitch in is to come in when your team is way behind. Not necessarily from a challenging point of view, but just as a professional athlete with the pride that they have and the kind of job they want to do all the time. Grounded to second. Easy play for Jeff McKnight, and the inning is over. A walk, a base hit, and 2 left in the ninth for Oakland. And we go to the bottom of the ninth with Bob Welch trying to win number 20.
What a day, what a way.
$45,000 plus on hand here in Baltimore as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning with Oakland leading by 5. There will be even more here tomorrow night because Jim Palmer will be honored here at Memorial Stadium tomorrow night for his entrance into the Hall of Fame. And he's been honored almost daily here in Baltimore. He had an affair at noon today.
Can you say something bad about me? It's been about 3 weeks since anybody's told the truth.
Well, let's see. As soon as I think of something, I'll say it.
Yeah, Jim Palmer, let's see, Hall of Fame pin night tomorrow night. Yeah. Now, I think it's not sold out because of the fact they're honoring me. I think it's the fact
it is.
A lot of it has to do, they had what?
45,000 plus here tonight.
I think it's the fact that the Oakland A's are in town.
Well, it's not a surprise that you're going to be honored here tomorrow night, but it is a surprise, at least mildly, that Dennis Eckersley is in the game to pitch the 9th inning for Oakland, facing Craig Worthington, and he gets a strike.
Yeah, he's had an off year, saved his first 20 and then blew a save, and has had 17 in a row. I mean, check out the ERA. Look at the base on balls. Well, that's 50 and a third. I mean, that's just incredible.
If anything is the key to his success, I think it's that control. Plus, he's only given up 1 home run.
Yeah, we talked about earlier the fact that how hitters expand strike zones. He's almost constantly ahead of hitters right here.
And how can you throw that many strikes and not give up any more than 1 home run?
Well, first of all, a lot of people think he cheats. I think he has good stuff. He's got great stuff. He's got a very deceptive windup. And you don't see a lot of guys that throw from that angle. If you're a right-handed hitter, he comes at you. He does have the slider. He does cut the ball a little bit, so it moves a lot. A lot of people think that may be a scuff ball, but if it is, how come they just don't ask for the umpire? If it's scuffed, you throw him out of there. So 37 out of 38. And again, go back to what Tony La Russa did. He said, Eck, I think you can be a better pitcher. You can help us better if you go to the bullpen. Incredible numbers. Said it's easier to get a guy out once than 4 times, which is what he had to do when he started.
Gallego picks up the little soft looping liner for out number 1. Worthington retired.
The one thing about him, if you think back at guys that have had one memorable thing happen in their career, Billy Buckner, the ball going through his legs. Can you think, if I think of Eckersley, I think about the home run to Gibson. But he's had such a marvelous career, winning 20 games before as a starter with the Red Sox, then gone to the Cubs, started out with the Indians. I think people are going to have a tendency to forget that.
Well, as David Segui stands in, I'm going to tell you another thing I think is the key to his success, and that's his work habits. Here's a guy that never, ever even thinks about resting on his laurels. He's out there working every day.
And he's changed. He used to stand in the outfield in Boston and tell him, hey, you know, you got one of the best orthopedists in the world, one of the owners of the Red Sox, Arthur Pappas. Why don't you do the programs we do? And he never, ever would work on that until he went to the Cubs. He started on the program last year when he hurt his rotator cuff in Yankee Stadium. He said, I got to get back to my weights.
Segui with a ground ball to first. Good play by McGuire on a tough hop, who makes it to the bag. And 2 gone in the bottom of the 9th. Eckersley not in a save situation with a 5-run Oakland lead. But pretty much the same result happening here in the bottom of the 9th. And game 2 about to bring the Mets and the Giants your way. Gary Thorne's out there, and Dave Campbell will be along with Thorny handling the analysis, and they'll be on the heels of this one as our doubleheader continues. The Mets at the Giants next. So 2 out, nobody on, and rookie Jeff McKnight trying to keep it alive for Baltimore. And a little nubber that may get over Lansford. No! Carney with a fine play to end the inning and the game. So Eckersley comes in and retires a side in order in the 9th. And Bob Welch becomes a 20-game winner for the first time in his career. 20-4 on the season.
Well, sometimes you get what you want, and he did. He battled him, trailed 2-0 early, but hung in there. His ball club came back with a 7-run 5th inning. Eckersley doing what he always does now. That doesn't get the save, but 37 out of 38 times he's done that. Got to be very, very satisfying for Bob Welch.
And the Oakland A's are assured of maintaining at least the lead they have now of 6 games over Chicago. So let's go out to San Francisco to Dave Campbell and Gary Thorne. Thorny.